Face is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is July 1st. It's a Wednesday. It's a Wall Pass Wednesday. So we'll be taking your questions, your comments throughout the show. Lots of things to talk about, and we'll get into Wigan first with going into administration and what that means. And are there going to be any others that could follow them? And what does it mean for Wigan in the long term? We'll start there. We've got lots of stuff about the MLS bubble. God, is it Sandwich Gate now at this point? I mean, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the NWSL and 2 more matches yesterday, 2 more matches today. We'll talk about where everything stands there. All the other news and rumors from around the world. You can join that conversation a couple different ways. You can join in on Twitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. Follow the channel, let you know when we go live, and you can join in the comments there. You can also tweet at us at SoccerDownHere, and you can email us soccerdownhere@gmail. If you've got questions, comments, if we screwed something up, if we got something right, let us know what you think. And if you have questions and you want us to dig into a certain topic, that's what we're here for. So we got to start with one that I know Joe Johnstone asked about, and it's one that has really started to break about an hour and a half ago. Wigan Athletic in the championship in England are going into administration. Obviously, they revealed that the coronavirus crisis has had a significant impact on the recent fortunes of the club. Now, John, you got to fill everybody in because I haven't kept up with Wigan's ownership situation and everything going on. Wasn't there a fairly recent takeover with Wigan?
A month ago.
A month ago, and they're in administration?
Yeah, the new owners took over a month ago after the purchase, which was, I want to say, late 2018. So you've had...
Oh, okay. So that's not quite the same thing.
Yeah, you've had 2 ownership changes in a year and a half.
Well, no, hold on. Now you've got me confused. The owners now...
Yes.
Did they buy it in 2018, or did they
No, they
just
bought it a
buy
month ago. They just bought it a month ago.
Okay. Now, go back and give us the ownership history because I'm confused. I want to make sure I got this right. I know. Okay. Go back from when they were relegated. That's when most people think back to Wigan. Roberto Martinez. They were the scrappy, hang around, keep surviving. They won an FA Cup in the year that they finally got relegated.
Wigan miracle. Yeah. Whalen family owned the club for a very long time. Then the Whalen family sold in November 2018 to International Entertainment Corp., and that was a Hong Kong-based organization that wanted to invest in the club, saw something there, and there were some quotes at the time from IEC that were just as appropriate now with this new ownership group. But a month ago, IEC sells to the Next Leader Fund, which was a Cayman Islands registered Hong Kong-based organization, if you can follow along the ownership trail here. So up until November 2018, what we associate with all of what we've seen with Wigan was the Whalen family, Dave Whalen. Mm-hmm. So IEC purchases, if I could get my upper plate to work, purchases Wigan in November 2018. A month ago, another Hong Kong-based club, Next Leader Fund, buys from IEC, and here's where we are today.
Well, how is somebody who bought the club a month ago already going into administration?
That's the question here. It's they passed the owners and directors test, which we got into yesterday with owners and directors down here and discussing Newcastle. League approved the sale to NLF, and the test and takeover process, this is from our friends at The Guardian, involves determining a new owner has the money to buy a club and support it financially for at least the remainder of the season and the whole of the following season. And that is obviously not the case. So
no.
I'm wondering about the vetting process here, about Next Leader Fund, how they passed, and now with 7 matches left in this particular season, they barely last a month, and now Wigan's in administration.
I mean, I'm going back and looking at a few things to try to get a better picture of this, because we'll get into the reality that Wigan might not be the only club that goes into administration at any level here, because the effects of the pandemic are real. There's no way around that. But in this case, Next Leader Fund was established on January 30, 2020. They bought Wigan June 5th is when it was announced.
Yeah, June 4th.
June 5th is when it was announced. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Au Yang is the Hong Kong magnate who is the leader of this fund. Has experience in business operations and management. He's worked in commodity and real estate investment management in Asia and operated an amateur football team for more than 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense in that how they would be allowed to buy the team with the expectation that they have the money to operate it for the remainder of this season and for next season. And you would think that at the beginning of June or at the end of May, whenever they did this test, that they would have an understanding that, costs are a little different. So we're going to have to make sure that you have even more to be careful here. I'm blown away by this, because this is just, for Wigan fans, I mean, June 4th they make their announcement, and not even a month later, you're going into administration. Now, administration, for people who don't know what that means and how it works, the EFL released a statement this morning after this news, and the club is subject to a 12-point deduction. Now, the timing of this deduction is only determined once the final league standings are determined. Where does Wigan sit right now?
Wigan is 14th at 50 points, 8 points clear of the drop.
How many games left?
You're having me do math. 6.
So, pretty good. And they came out of the break really well. They've won their last 3, right?
Yep, and they are undefeated in their last 6.
Because they were in 20th, I think, coming out of the break.
Yeah.
So they're looking pretty good to stay up. Now, if they stay up, then the sanction is applied to their total. And it can't relegate them, right?
No, it can.
It can. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're not in a relegation spot to begin with, then it could relegate you.
Mm-hmm.
So, right now, if you look at them, you have to look at them as minus 12, which would put them where?
At the absolute bottom.
But how many points from safety is the key?
4.
Which is doable. If they're already in a relegation spot, then what it would do is that 12 points would hit next year, right?
That is a good question. I will effort that.
I got it. It's right here.
Is it?
It is. It's next year, because it doesn't make any sense. You're already relegated.
You're already relegated. Yeah. So you would start next year in League One at minus 12.
Yes, that's what it looks like. So that's where Wigan stands now. There's got to be more information on how all of this went wrong. If you're wondering why the Newcastle takeover is taking forever because of this standards and practices and leadership tests and all kinds of nonsense, well, this is what it gets you. Nothing. The club, made their statement today. Former Leeds chairman Gerald Krasner is part of the team tasked with saving the club, finding a new buyer. Immediate objectives are to ensure the club completes all its fixtures this season, which I guess is not a guarantee, and to urgently find interested parties to save Wigan Athletic FC and the jobs of the people who work for the club. Wigan Athletic has been a focal point and source of pride for the town since 1932, and anyone who is interested in buying this historic sporting institution should contact the joint administrators directly, and Krasner is leading that effort. I think we've said wake-up call a lot over the last month, 2 months about, what the effects of this are going to be. This was a club that, wasn't in great shape to begin all of this. They've been... When did they get relegated? What
13,
year was
wasn't
it?
it?
13. So they've been in the championship ever since.
Actually, they went to League... They dropped to League One for 1 year, then came back up.
Okay. When did they go to League One and come back?
Oh, that...
doesn't matter. It's not important.
It was a couple of years in. It wasn't an immediate drop.
Yeah, so they were in championship, fell down, came back, and they haven't been able to really push to get back into the Premier League, and they are what they are now. They're a club that I don't think they're in the championship next year either way. It's going to be really difficult for them to do that because all of the good feelings of winning 3 games since coming back, it's gone because people don't know if they're going to play week to week at this point. We'll have to keep an eye on what happens with Wigan, but they're not going to be the only ones. And that's the point of all this. And when we have these conversations about, well, why would you even try to come back? This is why. Why would you try to finish the season out? This. So you get every bit of sponsorship money and TV money that you possibly can because that's the only revenue you can get right now before you can start selling players. And Wigan isn't selling enough players to balance the books. It's not happening. Their roster is not one that is in high demand. So this is their reality. There's going to be more teams in this situation. I worry about, and we've talked about it on the PM edition, I worry about some of the teams who had to go into the playoffs to go up to League One or go into the championship, didn't make it, what that's going to do to their bottom line going forward. Some of them, that's going to do big-time damage since they didn't make it. They didn't win the playoff. They're not going to be able to handle that very well, and they're going to be hurt next year. This is going to be an ongoing thing. We see it in Wigan. We see not quite to the same degree, but we see Schalke today talk about what they're going to do going forward, and they're not going to do the same things. And Schalke is looking at this with the understanding that they can't continue as before. The marketing chief, Alexander Jopes, said that today is a watershed for Schalke. We can't and won't continue as before. Reaching Europe is no longer a goal for them because they have to cut a bunch of costs. They have to realign. With cutting those costs, they have to realign what realistic goals are. And that's smart because we've seen so many teams try to do both. It's like, we'll cut money because we don't have any money, but we're going to bank on qualifying for Europe and bringing in that money next year, and you get yourself in trouble. Schalke reorganizing. There's talk about them basically putting in a wage cap, not signing players over a certain amount going forward because they can't afford it. We will see what kind of conversations we get here on this side of the Atlantic about the effects of the business, but it just goes back to this point that you wonder why organizations are trying to find a safe way to play and to finish seasons. This is why. There's just no other way around it. It's not greed. It's not, anybody getting rich off of this. It is literally trying to find ways to survive and keep the business in position that it was before and not have the Wigan situation. Schalke's caught it earlier. They're trying to fix it now. Wigan doesn't have any money. I mean, basically administration, John, for people who don't know, administration is our version of bankruptcy, correct?
Yeah, and you have an overseer appointed by a financial firm, and they sit there and they look for redundancies in job titles and job performances. They look at your books and sit there and say, okay, you can trim here, you can trim here, you can trim here. It is an itemized look at your business to try to figure out what can still be trimmed and how you can function, so then you can find a buyer who can take care of things from there.
So basically, it's the process of, I mean, I went through this in the retail world a long time ago when I worked at Warehouse Music. And Warehouse Music grew out of taking advantage of the bankruptcy of Blockbuster Music. Warehouse bought a bunch of bought Blockbuster and bought a bunch of leases and store locations and all of that. And when Warehouse declared bankruptcy, what they did was, where they had a lease that they didn't like, they were able to break it because they had filed bankruptcy. They closed stores that were underperforming. They were able to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do to try to save money. It's like a form of protection to do that. It doesn't necessarily mean that they can't operate, right?
Yeah, no,
this is play in administration.
Yeah, administrators are accountants, and they will run the club and try to increase revenue, and you're selling off assets normally when you're doing something like this, and using contacts to find investments from ITV. They'll try to seek deals with creditors to reduce the amount of debt that's owed. So basically, administrators take care of everything that is not pitch related. That's what administrators are taking care of.
Yeah, I don't know if it's fair to call them accountants. They're more like, when we have this situation here, like liquidators in some ways, where it is about how to streamline the business and how to bring in whatever you can possibly bring in and continue. And that's what you see here a lot of times is, you have a company go into bankruptcy, you have the liquidators come in, you sell off the redundancies, you sell off stores that are underperforming, you sell off equipment, you do what you got to do to get down to a point where you feel like you can make money again. And that's what we'll see if Wigan can do that. So they can play. I want it that needs to be understood. They can play. Hopefully, because they're talking about being able to arrange games and make sure they fulfill all their fixtures. That makes you think that maybe this is a little more dire than a typical administration, where it is a corporate restructuring in a lot of ways. Simon Stone at BBC Sport, they have their piece about this, and his question is, how many more clubs will enter administration as the full financial impact of the coronavirus pandemic starts to be felt? When Simon interviewed Huddersfield owner Phil Hodgkinson in May, Hodgkinson said 50 or 60 clubs could go bust. Mm-hmm. The Football League and Premier League has 92 or 96?
Yes.
90-something.
90, yeah, I thought it was 92.
Okay.
But still, mid-90-something.
A lot. And 50 or 60 is a large percentage of that. Now, he could be including conference teams and non-league teams, which I think would obviously be affected as well. But Simon said that the view at that time, and this is in May, that was, that's too extreme. Well, as Stone points out, Manchester United right now, every game they play, losing £5 million worth of income. Now, if they didn't play, they'd lose more. That's the part you got to understand is, if they didn't play, it'd be worse. Yeah. By playing, they've cut the losses playing each game to $5 million per. Now, they are also used to drawing a huge crowd and selling a lot of things on a game day. So they're going to lose a little bit more on a game day than a Bournemouth would, for example. But both of them have the access to this massive TV deal that helps them continue. That's why it can still be financially viable, even losing £5 million per game to play. It can still be viable because it would have been worse otherwise, and you can still make sure that you get that TV money to help you out. You go down the pyramid, TV money isn't the same. Right. League One, League Two, National League, can they play behind closed doors if that's the case in September when the new leagues start? I don't know. Yeah. I really don't know if they can. I don't know if it makes any sense. So when you look at Wigan, and what they're facing, and you compare it to somebody in Scotland like Hearts. Hearts was relegated. Hearts was relegated into a league that is not planning to play the same number of games as the Premiership. They're not planning to start at the same time as the Premiership, and they might play behind closed doors. And it's just, like, it makes no sense. Like, it's such a huge loss for them. It's not a typical relegation. Wigan could be in the same spot because League One and League Two, are they going to start in mid-September like everybody else? If they're behind closed doors, why would they?
Yeah.
You can't justify it because there's not the revenue return to make it worth it. Because the others have TV, League One, League Two, you're not getting that TV money the same way. So then you look at what we saw with Bury at Bolton, where it got to the point that, I mean, Bury faced, I mean, they're done. They're gone. Mm-hmm. Bolton was as close to being gone as we've seen in a long time. They barely survived. Are they going to be able to survive this? Who knows? Can Wigan go from being a championship club with decent TV money and all of a sudden now no owner trying to sell it, who's going to buy it, and going into this situation where you might not start at the same time, you don't have the same money coming in, you might not have fans in the stands if you do start, you might have reduced capacity, you're going to need a lot of startup capital. And where's that going to come from at this point? I don't know. And, you know, a lot, as we've said throughout all this, a lot of the conversation is, you know, you can't come back. You can't come back. It's not right to come back. You can't play games without fans. You have to have fans. You have to do this the way that we're used to doing it. If you don't, you're accelerating this. Mm-hmm. If you do, you're still going to have this because the financial implications are real. You can't wish them away. You can't push them to the side. And this is sad obviously for fans in Wigan who've had a club since the 30s, for a club that won the FA Cup not that long ago. And a club that, I mean, how can you feel positive about the future for Wigan Athletic where you're trying to find a buyer when you just did and that didn't work? And whoever made that decision has to be questioned and maybe even brought up on charges for this. But for that to happen, and now you got to go find another buyer?
Yeah.
And the situation's worse? And it doesn't look good for next year? Like, why would you buy it?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
You look at, and we've talked about this before, you look at the teams that would be relegated this year from the Premier League. And yes, you're going to have parachute payments that will help mitigate some of your losses and your operating revenue. But when you have a team like Bournemouth, where 85% of your TV money is headed toward player wages, that to me is the screaming example of a team that could be in serious trouble if they get relegated this season. Villa has spent $125 million in player acquisitions and development, and now they're going to be looking at their front office and their scouting department because we've seen the results there. Jack Grealish.
That's the dumbest thing ever. It's like, we spent all this money and we haven't done well. Now we're going to examine why that's the case. I can tell you really fast. Yeah. You made bad signings. Uh-huh. You spent a lot of money and it wasn't spent well. Mm-hmm. Duh. It doesn't matter if you look back at it now. Don't waste the time looking back. Because here's the reality. For any club that's going to get relegated from the Premier League this year, what do you typically see these clubs do? They sell off assets. Mm-hmm. Players who are Premier League players or players who are on high wages that they don't really feel they can justify in the championship, they sell them.
Yeah.
What's the market going to be like for that? Not the same. No, you're not going to be able to sell those guys as easily. So you're going to have to eat some contracts. Now, that might help you in the championship. It might help you get back quicker, but can you actually do that? Do you have the money to do that? And how do you handle that if you are Villa and you've signed bad players on probably multi-year deals?
Yeah.
And you can't get out from under them very easily. And now you've got to have them go into the championship, if that happens, and get you back immediately, because there's no way you can survive multiple years in the championship under this. It's going to be even more difficult for clubs to get relegated, because that usual, all right, we got relegated, we can sell players off, that can bring us some money in, we can reorganize, cool. You don't have it. And you're going to have the same salaries that got you relegated. Now, that might help you win the championship, but it doesn't guarantee anything. And the financial paradigms have shifted. And that's the problem, is that clubs who put themselves in a long-term bad situation with bad signings, now they don't have as easy of a way to get out of them. It's rough.
You look at the bottom of the championship right now. What do these teams all have in common? Middlesbrough, Stoke, Hull, Huddersfield.
Formerly big clubs. Bigger clubs, at least.
And they are 19th through 22nd in the championship right now. Huddersfield is in the relegation zone. Those other teams are no more than 2 points ahead of Huddersfield, having escaped the drop currently. So,
well, who is in the last relegation spot right now?
Luton, and
they would be the ones that would be saved by Wigan going down, right?
Well, they would be saved, and so right now they're at 40 points, and Wigan would be at 38 if you applied that 12-point penalty. Huddersfield would be saved because of goal difference. Everybody slides up one.
Okay, yeah. So they're hoping, and they're maybe happy this morning. Nobody else is.
Yeah.
We'll keep you posted on more that comes out of Wigan as we go, because that just broke a couple hours ago. So if we hear anything else, we'll update you as the show goes on. Let's talk about Major League Soccer and the MLS's back tournament. MLS announced last night that 4 players have tested positive out of close to 400. I wanted to see if I had that number handy. And these are people who are in Orlando. These are the folks who are down there right now, and I don't have it in front of me. It was around 350, 360, I think. Somebody will have it in the chat. Let us know. It's 4 players who tested positive. Now, as we have talked about with this, it's a little tricky the way MLS is reporting this, because they're not saying, in this round of testing, we did X number of tests. They're talking about the people. So 4 people out of the 300-plus people who are in the bubble. Not 4 positive tests out of however many tests that these folks have done while they're down there. So that's a little different than the way this has been reported in a lot of places. But Nico Cantor is in the bubble, and he tweeted last night the question that I had when this report came out. This could mean 2 different things. This could mean that the 2 players, according to Sunday's report, who tested positive, have not recovered, because they're not doing this based off tests. They're doing this based off of people. So you had 2 people who were positive for coronavirus. If they have not recovered and they are part of this 4, then there's 2 new cases. Or those 2 people who tested positive, players, everybody's a players, no staff. The 2 players that tested positive on Sunday have recovered, and they are no longer counted as positive, and there are 4 new cases. And we don't know because of the way it's reported. So that's a question. And obviously, yes, 1 could have recovered, and there could be 3 new cases. 392 people between Monday and Tuesday. 4 people are positive. That is current situation, the way MLS is reporting it. So it's not like a running total. It's not some of the ways we see this reported, like at a state level, where it just keeps adding and it just keeps adding, and you've got that number with people who tested positive in March. That's not what's going on here. It is the current situation of 4 people positive, and out of 392 people that are there. So some people, and this is what's just bizarre about all this and frustrating. Some people were like, Shut it down. You got to shut it down. That's why you got to shut it down. And then some people are like, "Oh, that's not bad. That's nothing." I don't know anymore. I don't know what's acceptable. I don't know what's good. I don't know what's bad with any of this. Everybody's jumping to whatever conclusion they want to jump to. And, I mean, MLS has got to do what MLS has got to do because of the business side, because, yes, it is a business. And this whole idea that you can't try to operate your business is ridiculous. You have to do it safely. And as players who are in the bubble have said, they feel safer there than they do at home. Chris Mueller would rather be in this bubble than be in Orlando. I mean, I don't know what else to say or do about it. Kismet asked on Twitch if these were new arrivals. We don't know. I think that's a safe assumption, but we don't know. And as we just went through, we don't know if it's the 2 people who were positive originally haven't recovered in a couple of days, or if it's 4 new cases and they recovered. We don't know. There have been no reports of anybody who is symptomatic. 4 out of 392 doesn't show any kind of a spread either way. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think the league is doing the right things to keep this safe. We will find out. And as we heard from Adam Silver in the NBA, nobody has a full steam ahead, no matter what, this is what we're going to do. Nobody has that mentality right now. If you do, you're fooling yourself on either side of it. You have to be nimble to adjust to what happens. This doesn't require adjustment, in my opinion. Right now, from what we know, these could be people who tested negative before getting on the flight, tested positive after. There could have been false testing involved on either side of it. Now you're doing the right things to keep them isolated to prevent any kind of a spread. Because the tests are not 100%, even if you're doing it 3 times. But this is why you're doing 3 tests. 2 before they go and 1 when they arrive, to make sure that they're not going to have a spread. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on Sandwichgate, because it was just a ridiculous thing that's still spreading right now. Omar Gonzalez and Eric Zavaleta of Toronto FC tweeted pictures of boxed lunches. Everybody had their takes on it. Everybody made the rounds with it. It's continued. And then it came out that, one, these were the types of lunches that players were given once they arrived, after they got off the flight, after they got tested, before they were cleared to leave their rooms. Okay? 2, if you've ever been to a convention or a trip of any sort, you kind of know what a boxed lunch is. People got hung up on the price, and I don't know why people jumped to the conclusion that players were paying for these out of their own pocket. That was never the idea. A lot of people have said a lot of things about the whole situation with these pictures being posted. The biggest one, Omar Gonzalez and Eric Zavaleta are not in Orlando. They're not there. Toronto doesn't leave until Friday. So I don't know what the idea was here. I don't know, and I wish we had some clarification, and I did not see it from either one of them last night when I checked, and we can go look again, but was this a picture that somebody sent them? Do you just not want to say who sent them that? That's fine. You need to be kind of clear that you're not there, because that really looked bad once it was identified that these 2 players are not there. These are not pictures that they took themselves. They didn't clarify. They didn't say. Why would you create an uproar about a sandwich? I don't know. I don't know why this is the route that this is taken for a lot of people, and it's frustrating. MLS has to just push through, honestly, and continue the best that they can, because you don't want Wigan situations in this country in American soccer. You shouldn't. And they're going to lose money doing this. We went through it. Just that testing to get into the bubble, $300,000 easy. Easy, just to get into the bubble. You want to look at those costs for boxed lunches and prepared meals? If you've ever booked a convention, that's how it goes. Yes, you're not paying $65 just for the bread and meat on a sandwich. You're paying for all the preparation. You're paying for the labor. You're paying for the packaging. You're paying for the transport. You're paying for all that. And as we talked about on Stoppage Time yesterday, one of the major complaints coming into this about the holes in the bubble were food prep. Well, how do you handle that? You have situations like this where it is a prepared meal that's given to you in a box. That's given to you in a package. That's the whole point. I don't know. I don't know, like, what I hope is learned from this, because, man, it feels like this is the MLS conversation every single day. Stop jumping to conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
Stop jumping to conclusions through your filter of hating the league, if that's the case. I don't understand why that's the mentality of American soccer, to hate itself. Because, yes, MLS is a huge part of American soccer. You should not want it to fail. If it fails, it's not going to help the USL Championship. It's not going to help NISA. It's not going to help the NPSL or any other league that you like, or any individual non-league club that you love, or anything about the game. It's not going to be a good thing. So why does it feel like we actively root for it on a regular basis? Please make sure that when you see something like a boxed lunch and a photocopied thing of menu options, do the minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes of getting a little more information before you toss off a take. Because it's not just fans doing this. These are people who have voices in the game who are doing this. It's not a contest to get off the best quip. Because what happens? Nobody, because I still see this keep popping up. I think USA Today had something about it in their For the Win section. And they didn't have anything about, oh yeah, Omar Gonzalez isn't even there. And oh yeah, this is a very specific thing about when people arrive. And it's not talking about the restaurants that they have and the different options that they have and all this other stuff. It's just, ooh, how can we take a shot? Let's take a shot. Here we go. Yeah, we're going to be funny. Well, that stuff over time hurts the league and hurts the game and doesn't do anybody any good. So I don't know. I'm defensive about it, and you can go ahead and call me out for that. That's fine. I've put a lot of energy into wanting to see the game grow in this country, and people taking shots at things in the game and not contributing 1 ounce of anything positive to the sport drives me crazy. Because a lot of people put a lot of work into it, and for people to say, oh, the boxed lunch, that's why you got to get rid of it, can't do this tournament, can't do it. Come on, people. Don't lose your minds during all this, please.
You want to talk about some stuff that was crazy in a good way?
Sure.
The 2 games from Challenge Cup yesterday.
The second game was not crazy in a good way. I don't know what you're talking about. Did you fall asleep?
The goalkeeping.
It wasn't crazy. No,
first one.
No, we're not gonna come in here and lie, John. The second game was not a fun game to watch. It was not a good game. It was 2 teams that have had a lot of turnover. It was 2 teams that are missing very important players, and it showed. I mean, it was 2 teams that are a work in progress. You can still watch it, and you can still enjoy it, and you can still find things to talk about in it. But no, it wasn't an entertaining match. It wasn't a crazy good game. The first game was nuts. The first game was a blast. The first game was a lot of fun because it was chaotic. The first game had a ton of great goals as well, and a 3-3 draw between Houston and Utah. The second game was a scoreless draw, and there's, look, Sky Blue, I like what they're trying to do. I like what the team they're trying to be. Feels like a little bit different team than we see sometimes in the women's game. More possession, more focused build-up. they didn't have the difference makers, and you didn't have enough difference making on the field in that. They didn't create enough chances, and that's got to change. Well, when you're missing Carly Lloyd, that's going to be part of it. You're missing Mallory Pugh. That's going to be part of it. Goalkeeping for Sky Blue was very good. Kaylin Sheridan made 2 big saves late to keep it scoreless. OL Reign was... There were some good performances individually. I think as a group, it wasn't really anything spectacular. Both teams kind of canceled each other out, and it didn't ever get going. Every time it felt like the game was about to, okay, here we go. This didn't happen. That happens in a tournament. It happens in any tournament you see. First game was nuts for pretty much the whole 90 minutes. Back and forth, and Utah fell behind 3-1, came back, got 2 goals in the last 10 minutes, all kinds of strong performances across the board from both teams. Where do you want to start in talking about that first game?
Ooh, see, because for me, it's like you had a 3-1 lead, then you talk about Utah coming back. Let's just start with Houston since they had a 3-1 lead and you got the daily double.
Well, no, I mean, I thought you were going to pick a controversial point to talk about because there's been multiple ones.
No, go ahead.
You're not going to talk about the could have been a hat trick for Rachel Daly and blocking the goalkeeper's punt?
Okay, so let's start with that. I thought that was perfectly okay.
Why? Why do you think it was perfectly okay? What was perfectly okay, and why do you think it was perfectly okay?
I thought if the ball hit the ground first, then it was in play and you could do whatever you wanted.
No, who told you that?
Well, no, I was watching the broadcast and I thought that was what the rule was.
No, that's not what the rule is because it's not the way that's normally happening because the ball being placed on the ground is a different conversation than the ball being drop kicked.
Right.
The ground doesn't make it fair play. It doesn't just say, "Oh yeah, you can do whatever." The way it's taught, and this is from higher level referees and instructors, the way it's taught is that is all part of the kicking motion because it's a drop kick. How do you do a drop kick? The ball comes up off the ground, you kick it. You're in the kicking motion.
Okay.
That part's not the issue for me. That's not the question. The question is, did Daly impede? Was she too close? The replays are somewhat inconclusive because she's coming from the side. How far away is she to block it? Because the kick was fairly low. It's a judgment call. I think the goalkeeper's going to get that judgment call 9.5 times out of 10.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything controversial about that decision. You don't want players doing that. As John's yard folks come and try to blow him away.
Exactly.
John will try to figure out how to mute, or I'll mute him if I have to. I don't think you want attackers trying to time blocking a punt. That's why the rule is in place. Do we want to see attackers maybe mistime it and jump into the goalkeeper and injure them? No, that's why we don't want that. So I don't think it's anything controversial. I think it was the right call. I think based off the way that rule is taught, that it's the right call. I'm just surprised that even became a talking point because it did. A lot of people are like, "Oh, that's completely wrong." Now there was some conversation initially on it about being offside. That had nothing to do with it. Don't bring that into the conversation. That had nothing to do with it. It was impeding the goalkeeper's punt and drop kick, same thing, and you can't do that.
Yeah, so I didn't see any offside issue at all. I was just looking at the interaction between Daly and the keeper, and
no, the offside. It's not about you not seeing. It didn't happen. I think there was confusion. You got to remember, the broadcasters are not on site,
right?
So when that happened, they didn't necessarily know why it was called back. I think that was one of the assumptions as you're trying to figure it out, and it had nothing to do with it. So you can squash that conversation. It was about impeding the punt. And I think they got it right, because I don't think we want to see strikers start trying to do that. If you allow that, then that's what you're going to see. People standing off to the side from goalkeepers, trying to time this and jump in front. And you jump in front and clip somebody's knee and tear their ACL, and that's why you don't do this.
Yeah.
The Houston goal that put them up 3-1. Now, this was an interesting one because I didn't notice it watching it live. I didn't notice it watching the highlights. Our good friend Justin Hanover, PA announcer for Atlanta United 2, he said that he saw it was offside on the initial ball being played in over the top. I think the angle makes it difficult to make that definitive, because when you look at where the camera is, it's on the top of the 18. The ball is being played from further back. The ball was received about 3 to 4 yards back behind where the camera was, and you look at the lines on the field and the way they converge. It's tough. It's close. It's closer than I thought it was watching it live, because I didn't think anything about that ball and that player being offside. I think it's impossible to definitively say that it was offside. It was close. Now, from there, the way Houston created the goal, and the goal from Groom, rip with the left foot, you thought the game was over at that point. You thought 3-1, done and dusted, it's over. You don't think that with Vera Boquete on the field. One of the most talented players in the world, and Spain has had a breakdown with her. She was not part of the Spanish squad last year in the World Cup. They needed her desperately because of what you saw in the last 10 minutes. The free kick goal, perfectly done too, with Diana Matheson on the edge of the wall, not in the wall like you can't do now, but on the edge of it, and then clearing out, and that's where the free kick went through. No chance for Jane Campbell to make the save. And then it's another free kick that Boquete puts into a perfect spot that Ziara King charges onto, and excellent header from the rookie to not make that more difficult. She redirected it in that situation off the bounce. She didn't try to add power to it. She didn't try to do anything other than redirect it past Campbell, who was stuck. I mean, it's a tough one, because if you come out aggressively, you could not get there in a crowd. And the delivery from Boquete, perfect. And that gets you to 3-3, and it was just a great, I think, exhibit for this league of everything you're looking for in a game. Great goals, great plays across the board defensively as well, great drama. And it was two teams that, honestly, people didn't come into this tournament with huge high hopes for either one, and it was very entertaining and played at a high level.
Yeah, and, you're obviously thinking, all right, 3-1, 10 minutes to go, then this one's, pretty much in the barn. But once again, when you have somebody like Vera Boquete do what she did in that 7 minutes, but in the last 10, basically. Now, this one was a fun one to watch. I was locked in watching it, especially after Houston had that great goal to make it 3-1, and then the last 10 minutes. It was great. It was great television.
Joey Logan, who has some refereeing experience and can contribute to the conversation. On Twitch, he said it's a controlled kick. Goalkeeper must be allowed to throw the ball without interference or blocking by the attacker. It's not – the ball hitting the ground doesn't block that up, because it's still part of the kick.
Right.
If the goalkeeper sat the ball on the ground to play it with her feet, then yes, that's a different conversation. That's not what happened here.
Yeah.
Hey, look, that's what we want with this game, right? We want to talk about goalkeepers and referees and controversy and drama, and that's fun. I think they got it right. I just don't want to see attackers trying to charge in and block goalkeepers and creating injury situations. So, thanks, Joey. Thanks for the heads up on that. We had the anthem situation, and we'll talk about this for a minute. You could stay in the locker room if you chose to. I think no one stayed in the locker room.
Yeah.
It looked like everybody from both clubs were on the field. Every player was on the field. You did see a few people do different things. I don't really worry about it. There's been comments that have come out of the Chicago Red Stars. They play again today on all sides of it. Rachel Hill was the player who stood next to Casey Short and Julie Ertz. All of them have made statements. Please read Casey Short's statement, because that's where I've been disappointed with all of this. That moment was not Rachel Hill's moment. It was not Julie Ertz's moment. It was Julie Ertz supporting Casey Short in a moment that she was affected by. And Casey Short was who I wanted to hear from. And that's the important statement in all of this. That was the one that mattered. So go read what Casey Short had to say. And she wrote it on behalf, but from her perspective, on behalf of her and Julie Ertz. Those conversations are good, and those things are good. And I don't think the Red Stars are a team that's in any kind of an issue, because players have different opinions and do different things, and they're not on different sides of the issue. And I think that's what Rachel Hill's statement tried to clarify. I still think we shouldn't be putting the players in these situations, but if this is the way we're going to go, then yeah, you're going to have these difficult conversations, and teams and players are going to have them amongst their groups. And it looked like the teams yesterday were pretty united in the way that they handled these things and moved forward. We'll see what it looks like today. You've got 2 games today. The big one is the night game, the 2 teams that won on Saturday, Washington and North Carolina. Find a way to stay up for it, and that's going to be one you definitely want to watch. Rose Lavelle is one of the best players in the world at the moment, and if she can give you the fireworks that she did over the weekend, you're going to want to see it. The 12:30 game's a good one, too, with 2 teams that lost on the weekend, and 2 teams that I think played well on the weekend, but still came out of it with nothing, in Chicago and Portland. And you got a little bit of spiciness with some back and forth between the 2 teams. You want to update everybody on what that was?
The spiciness? I was updating with the numbers. What's the spiciness? I haven't seen it.
Oh, you nodded your head like I thought you saw it. You had a Chicago player make a comment about being happy to play Portland without fans in the stands, because she doesn't really like playing in Portland to begin with because of their fans. So people are all like, ooh, how can you say that? I think it's great. I don't have a problem with it at all. You shouldn't like opposing fans. There's nothing wrong with that. You should be happy about the idea that you're going to get to play this opponent with nobody in the stands. This is where it came from. Katie Johnson of the Chicago Red Stars said, "I've never liked playing at Portland's home field because of their fans. So I think it'll be kind of refreshing to play against them without that energy." Mark Parsons, the head coach of Portland Thorns, said that quote was going up on the wall in the locker room. Yeah, true. And?
I love it.
Johnson continued, said, "Hopefully that can give us a little bit more of an energy to the attack, and obviously maybe slow us down and let us keep the ball. That will be a good experience for us." She should say that.
Oh, yeah.
You shouldn't say, if you're Katie Johnson's situation, "Man, I really wish we were playing in Portland in this game because their fans really make it difficult for us. We should want that." No, yes. You want to win.
Uh-huh.
You want to win. She didn't say, and everybody wants to jump to whatever conclusion. She didn't say their fans have stupid chants, or their fans say horrible things,
they suck,
or their fans smell funny. She didn't say anything like that. She said, "I've never liked playing at Portland's home field because of their fans."
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. If Portland wants to be riled up about it and find a hook to get up, okay, cool. That's fine. But Katie Johnson didn't say anything wrong.
No.
And I don't know. Maybe it's just a different mentality, but people kind of started to go at her like she had done something wrong here. No. It's good. We get a little extra spice to this one. I think you'll have a little bit of spice with Washington and North Carolina tonight, too, because Washington wants to be who North Carolina is. They're not there yet. They're young. They've got to prove themselves. So both games today should be a lot of fun. 12:30 for Chicago and Portland, CBS All Access. 10 o'clock tonight, CBS All Access, Washington and North Carolina.
$6 a month, and you can cancel I think, at any time. So pretty much watch the tournament, and if you're not interested in watching anything else from CBS, you can cancel your subscription.
I think it's a free trial as well.
I tried to find that, and I tried to use some of the words that I saw, and it wouldn't work for some reason. Of course, that's probably just me.
That's very possible.
According to our Juicebox purveyors, our friends at Odds Portal, Portland and Chicago. Portland is plus 143 to win. Chicago is plus 165. The draw option is at plus 219. And the Washington, North Carolina line has fluctuated over the last 24 hours. Mm-hmm. Which number do you want first?
You call it. North Carolina.
Minus 185. That one went down some, closer to minus 130 at points. It's now back up to minus 185. Mm-hmm. Washington is now plus 416.
That's pretty high. What's the draw?
Plus 290.
I will go draw in the first game and North Carolina in the second game, like 3-2 or something like that.
Yeah,
that's kind of where my head's at.
Yeah, I am right there with you, sir.
What do we have on the Twitters?
I was going to ask it, since we're at the top of the hour, do you want me to thank somebody first before we get into the Twitters?
Okay, why don't you thank somebody first?
We could certainly do that. Appolinsky and Associates, LLC. Friends of everything SDH and the SDH Network. Wrongful death and serious injury attorneys here in the Atlanta area. A couple different ways that you can access their over 30 years of experience, where they have garnered more than $40 million in judgments for their client. aa-legal.com. Pop-up window occurs on the website, lower right-hand corner of the second. You dial them up. You can have a discussion right this very second. If you wanted to have one at aa-legal.com. Pop-up, someone's there to answer all your questions. Or you can shoot Steve Appolinsky an email directly, steve at aa-legal.com. Give him a call, 404-377-9191. Get a free consultation. Recognized as legal by Georgia Trend Magazine, top 100 firms in the state of Georgia. Once again, a couple different ways to do it. Email, live chat, give them a call. Website, aa-legal.com.
Nicely done.
Like I said, I'm trying to finish my sentences right at the downstroke of that stanza, and where I can time it right in there.
Okay.
I think I'm getting better at it.
That was a longer one. You went longer with the read. You had more pauses than that one.
Okay. Well, it's just trying to get all the information in, trying to figure out what direction to go. Chris Hutchison's in this morning, and he says, jumping to conclusions and running around in circles are two of my favorite forms of exercise.
Yeah, it's kind of where the world is these days. Just be careful with it. That's all. Don't hurt yourself with that exercise.
Yeah, don't strain anything. You could be me.
Yeah, what did you do this time? You kicked something else?
Oh, well, no. I mean, going backwards a couple weeks ago, having sat in a chair that has a metal base to it, has screwed up my back. So I got a new chair for my birthday, and it's one of those balance ball chairs that's supposed to help you with your core.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had to not exercise and turn my back into complete and total spasm. And that happened for the first time last night, where I actually did half my exercises, didn't do anything on my back, and I didn't scream in pain when I was sitting on the floor. So that's always a good thing. And then because I have size 13 feet, and for those watching on Twitch, you can see how crowded Office HD is. Oh, I was going to get into the fact that I'm a complete and total clod, incredibly clumsy.
That's it.
But the way that this new chair is set up and the way things are here at the office, if I move and exit the chair to my right, there's a door frame that is one of the first things that can be experienced, and absolutely stubbed the daylights out of my middle toe in turning the corner, trying to walk backwards away from the desk the other day. So that my middle toe, and that really takes some serious talent to get that done.
Yeah.
Very, very purple. Not the big toe or the little toe, which hurt exponentially more, but the middle toe was the one that hit the door frame. Oh, and I found out what it was, the breakfast food in question that I was trying to. It's cherry strudel bites.
So it wasn't even either one.
No, it was cherry strudel bites.
It was not a turnover or a Danish. They are strudel bites.
Yeah, so
okay.
Still working on those and trying to dispose of them in a timely fashion. So that's what the question was with food. So yeah, strudel bites, not any of the two that I thought it was yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm 1 for 3, and I actually looked at the box and turned the box upside down to see what it was labeled as, and it's cherry strudel bites.
Nice. All right. All right. Oh, go ahead. What you're pointing?
I'm just gonna say, on the subject of food, Waka Tata Flame is in this.
Oh, Waka, what's up?
Waka says, so on the subject of food, we basically can only watch games with friends distanced outside. Yes, I have done the socially distanced tailgating, or at least that's how I feel for myself. That being said, what to eat for a breakfast cookout during a 9 a.m. game?
We used to really like, when I had Falcons season tickets, I got them when Arthur Blank did the $100 season tickets in the upper level, when he took over the Falcons in 2002. I did the $100 season tickets with a friend, and we hooked up with some folks that we had never met that were just parking near us and were tailgated, and they were a lot better at it than we were because they came with more equipment and were more prepared and started doing
professional tailgating.
No, not professional tailgating. Just, they actually thought it out more rather than just doing the basic, hot dogs, hamburgers, whatever. But I actually had more fun with the breakfast tailgates because when it was a 1 o'clock game, we'd get there at 9 o'clock or 9:30 and tailgate and have breakfast. And I liked, cooking sausage on the grill and making breakfast sandwiches. We do, sausage, bacon, egg, whatever you wanted. Sometimes we do different things than that, but that was my go-to. Was just a very simple, like, sausage on the grill, like sausage patties on the grill, but bigger, more like a small burger with eggs. They had a flat top, so fry up some eggs, and it was good stuff. That was my way to do it. I'm sure there's a lot of other directions you could go for a morning tailgate, but that was my favorite.
Yeah, when I usually will head over with the boss to the Plains for those early kicks, they'll do the morning tailgates, and folks will bring, they'll bring bear claws. They'll bring
not a Danishing.
No, they won't bring cherry strudels, but no, what they'll do is that
has nothing to do with it. We're talking about what do you cook?
Well, a lot of folks will do is actually do the cooking Friday night because of the travel that's involved, having to go to Auburn and having to deal with traffic and all of that stuff. So the food will already be ready, and all you have to do is just kind of heat it up a little bit, as opposed to cooking it there. Because if you're losing travel time in your creating time, then if you cook it the night before, you're already bringing it with you. So it's usually the sausage biscuits, the hash browns, like the people will make homemade hash browns and they'll bring them, that kind of breakfasty stuff.
There you go. Okay. If you're going to be a professional tailgater, if you're going to be a serious tailgater, and I'm assuming from Waka's question, he's not just planning to open up a package of bear claws in the morning to watch the game. He wants to do something. So, yeah, there's some prep the night before. Don't get me wrong. Yes, if you're doing a next day tailgate and it's a 4 o'clock game, then, yeah, you're probably going to prep some stuff the night before. That's a smart cook. That's a good chef. But in general, you do have to cook something at the tailgate to take it to this level. You're not just reheating something. So, if you're going to go hash browns, if you're going to go some kind of breakfast potatoes, which I'm a big fan of if they're done properly. Lots of different ways you can go. But, yeah, it's different. I got to where I really liked it. Now, we did not have a 9 a.m. game to tailgate for. We were tailgating for 1 o'clock games and starting the tailgate at 9 o'clock. If you're going to do it to that degree, you're going to be starting the tailgate at 6 and sitting in a park to watch the game somewhere on a big screen that's going to be inflatable, I guess. I don't know. If you're going to tailgate at home, that's a whole lot easier. But yeah, I think you got to cook something. That's part of the tailgate experience. You gotta cook something. You gotta smell it. You gotta have some grease involved somewhere. I mean, you gotta feel it. You can't just
pigs in blankets. That's another thing that we cook. Oh, and
you're not cooking that though. You're just reheating it because you already did it.
Well, no, actually, the homemade pigs in blankets have been cooked in the past.
What do you? Okay. John and cooking is a weird thing, and I'm
not saying that I do it. I'm just
no.
saying
I know you're not doing it, but homemade pigs in blankets cooked on the day are done how? You want to explain this to us?
No, cook the day before. You don't know because
that's what I said. That's what I said. They're reheated. Cook the day before, and then you bring them to the tailgate, or you eat them cold. It's not cooked that day. I think Waka, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you are wanting to cook something to enjoy the tailgate experience, even if you are at home.
There would have to be a meat involved if you're going to be doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's a meat involved in pigs and blankets, but it's just different. You have to cook, and for breakfast, I don't know. Now, let us know what you guys do when you're going to cook a big breakfast, because you're probably going to be tailgating at home for this. You might involve the grill, but what do you cook for a big breakfast for a game like this? Is it just your standards of your sausage? Ham is always a good one. We did ham with our breakfast sandwiches too.
Yeah.
Eggs are almost always involved. If I have all the means to do this, I like scrambled eggs with cheese mixed in as I'm scrambling the eggs. I usually mix the cheese in as I'm beating the eggs to get ready to put them on, and I like to get them almost just a little burnt, just a little bit to add a little color to the eggs, maybe a little hot sauce in there, black pepper, like it. So I'll do eggs. I'll do egg, sausage, and ham are probably my go-tos. Bacon, most people will go there. I'm fine with bacon. Yep. I'm going to go to ham or sausage first. Bacon's good. I'll go breakfast ham all day. So that's where I'm at with it. If you go different, let us know. What are you going to cook for a breakfast tailgate ahead of that Atlanta United game against Cincinnati for a 9 a.m. kick? It's probably going to be, I think what we're hearing is maybe a little bit closer to 9:15, 9:20 kind of kickoff, so that buys you a little more time in the morning. Yeah. But probably that will be part of our pregame coverage that day, is what people are doing for a breakfast tailgate, the first one in Atlanta United history.
Nick agrees with me that I speak truth on travel tailgating.
No, travel tailgating's fine. There's a difference between like the whole tailgate is packaged things or things that you're just bringing from you cooked before. That's different. Preparing ahead of time is a different conversation.
And Waka is stipulating that it is backyard grilling style.
There we go. It depends on the grill you have about the eggs. That's always the trickiest thing about a breakfast tailgate. You got to have a grill with a flat top attachment, or you got to be able to have the equipment to do it. Because I mean, you could put a pan,
because didn't Mike say that he has like a specific pan that goes inside the green egg that he can do that kind of stuff?
The green egg's a whole different thing. That's not a typical grill, so that's a different conversation too. Once we got past the very basic charcoal grilling with our tailgating, and I'm not a professional tailgater by any stretch. My friend and I had tickets with upgraded into a bigger grill that had it was a gas grill, but it had a flat top to it. So that allowed us to bring the eggs into the conversation much easier.
There you go.
We got more on this. Tesco chimes in and says, I've never heard it called pigs in blankets. We grew up calling them pigs in a blanket. Also, breakfast tacos with queso is the only way. That's a good call. Good for a long day of beers. Yep, I'm with you on that. Breakfast tacos is always a good thing. And you can modify, like eggs in a taco is really good. Eggs with salsa, really good. So you can take your usual stuff and put it in a taco and make it work, or you can go special for breakfast tacos. Chris Ashley did a breakfast pizza over the weekend.
Okay.
Canned biscuits made into a pizza dough.
Ooh.
Gravy as sauce. Scrambled eggs, bacon, and cheese on top. Everything cooked separately first, assembled, and baked for about 10 minutes to get the cheese melted. That sounds good.
Strong.
That sounds really good. I like this idea, Chris Ashley. I will not be able to do that for this game, but if people want to do that, I would like to see the results, and I might have to do this on a weekend.
Yeah, we need proof of this happening, and photos.
No. Proof is you are questioning Chris Ashley.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying I want the photographic evidence that this has been completed. That's all I'm saying.
Chris, I believe you. I'm sure you did this, and it was excellent. I would like to see the pictures of it, and I would
That's
like
what I'm
to
saying.
have some
I want to see the pictures.
That's what I'm saying.
I want pictures.
I don't need proof. I believe you.
Isn't a picture?
No. I'm just proof. You're questioning. I don't need to question it. Kismet. Ever since Premier League on Saturday mornings, coffee and soccer, natural fit. Yep. I'm not a coffee fan, so that's not the same thing for me. A lot of people, absolutely. I'm not really the full English breakfast fan either. I don't want beans. I don't want that stuff. Not for breakfast. So I don't go there. Don't they do a lot of times with a full English breakfast blood pudding? I like blood sausage from
what is blood
Latin
pudding?
style. I'll just let you look that one up because I want your reaction to it. And I don't know all the differences between blood pudding and blood sausage. I like a good morcilla, Argentine or Uruguayan. We had some in Mexico City actually. At our Argentine restaurant that we went to, and it took forever to find the place, and our driver had us very scared for a few moments, and our security people were talking about leaving pins on the map just in case we got lost and got who knows what else, so we were a little concerned. Once we got there, it was really good.
Okay, that's disgusting.
That's why I wanted you to look it up. Why don't you read that for us, John?
Black pudding.
Black pudding
is not, or blood sausage.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think there's some differences in the way it's done in different places, but yeah, go ahead.
Why this dark, contentious sausage is referred to as a pudding is a mystery. There's nothing pudding-like about it. Black pudding pops up everywhere in both British and Irish food. Black pudding is not a pudding, but a sausage made from pig's blood, onions, herbs, spices, and bound with oatmeal or barley. When well made, the flavor will be mild and slightly sweet despite the spices. It is the combination of all the ingredients, including the blood, which creates its unique flavor. No way in hell I'm ever eating this.
Oh, man. You're missing out, man.
No chance.
I couldn't have it for breakfast, but for, with a steak, Tesco's with me. Says blood sausage is so good, actually. It sounds worse than it actually is. Now, I have not had the English variety because I think typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I very well could be, it is a breakfast thing with the English. And in Argentina, Uruguay, it is part of the asado. It's part of the barbecue, and it's not a breakfast thing. I've never had it in a breakfast situation. I've had it in a dinner situation, and I've had it different places. The place in Mexico City might have been the best morcilla that I've ever had. There was a restaurant in Washington that we would go to anytime we went up there for Urban Soccer Collaborative meetings or anything else I was in Washington, D.C. for. It was in Adams Morgan. If we were nowhere near Adams Morgan, that neighborhood, we would still go to this restaurant because I would drag people there. It was so good. And it was a Latin, South American restaurant. The Rumba Cafe closed, I think, a couple years ago, sadly. And they had morcilla that was really good. Their parrillada plate, their grilled, asado kind of plate had it with it, and it was really good. Atlanta Phoenix is laughing. Is, quote, no way in hell I am eating this, unquote, part of the description.
Yes.
First John food take I've ever agreed with.
Yes. The pudding was produced as a way of using up the blood for the slaughter of the pig at the time when nothing was ever wasted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, that's disgusting as hell.
Oh, Tesco. Have you ever had Korean blood sausage? I have not. I also recommend Portuguese blood sausage. What's the difference? Tell me the differences. And tell me if you've had the English blood sausage or blood pudding, as they call it. How is it different? I need to know more about this now. I need more understanding of how the blood sausage is different country to country.
Usually sliced and fried when served at breakfast, but often the pudding is also crumbled and included in other dishes such as mashed potatoes, bubble and squeak, and gravy. Introducing the pudding to other foods enriches the dish and adds flavor. Fine, you can eat it. I will not under any circumstance.
I'll bet you if you had it from a South American restaurant or South American chef and it was just the sausage that you would get with, a steak or whatever you're going down, whatever road you're going down there, you wouldn't even know what it was.
Probably.
If you saw morcilla, if you're saying it in the Argentine manner, if you see that on the menu and you order it and you eat it, you wouldn't know what it was. Now, it doesn't taste like a typical sausage, but it's good. The ways I've had it, which have been purely from a South American perspective, it's good. I've enjoyed it.
Chris Hutchison says I'd hate frittatas.
You'd hate frittatas?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you hate frittatas?
I don't know. Chris Hutchison just says, you'd hate frittata, John.
Okay, hold on. We got... this is going to get this one. No, it's not going to get that one. It's over there. It's not here. But you get it. You understand what's going on. Darren Eels has tweeted. Rhett, R-H-E-T-T, may not... ... but we do. 5 stripes, don't stop. Rhett may not... ... but we do. And I know what that is. I want to see who gets it first. And this is one that we did not know if it was going to happen. We wondered.
Ah!
Yeah, John gets it.
Ah!
A certain player from Mexico whose last name would be part of the quote from Gone with the Wind with a certain character named Rhett Butler.
Frankly, my dear.
You can make the connections. So, that's very interesting.
Okay.
That is very, very interesting. So hang on, because I'm assuming we're going to have an announcement here in the next short period of time with Atlanta United.
Checking our emails.
Huh?
Checking our emails.
Yeah, I'm making sure that I don't have any texts or anything else going on over here. Let me prepare just in case.
Uh-huh.
This is gonna be interesting. So Jurgen Damm would be the safe assumption here. And Jurgen Damm is a player that was talked about coming to Atlanta United back in February and March when he was not going to stay at Tigres. Now he's officially gone from Tigres. On a free, international, so it's going to be an international spot. The question would be, is it going to be a TAM kind of signing? How is it going to fit? Definitely questions there. Questions on the field of how he's going to fit. But, yeah, Jurgen Damm would be the assumption, and I usually don't like to do this about Darren Eels' tweets, because he gets really tricky with some.
But if I can figure something out, or at least come looking like I can figure it out. Yes.
And this one got quiet. I mean, really, after those initial reports, there wasn't any update. And we have had a global pandemic to be dealing with. Yeah. There wasn't even an extra flurry of information or comments after Tigres announced that he was leaving and after he said his goodbyes to Tigres. So this is appearing to be the one, and we should get an announcement here at any point. Maybe 10:30. A lot of times it's on the 30s. So stay tuned there. We'll have that announcement for you shortly, hopefully, if the club wants to cooperate with our timelines today.
Yeah, come on now. It's like release something during our show. Going back to food quickly, the Airborne DJ says, again, my culinary train goes nowhere near Flavortown. I think it has about 3 stops. Tom, you are not incorrect.
I don't even know if you got 3 stops, to be honest.
Waffle House?
Well, I wasn't going to go there, but all right. Waffle House should add blood sausage. That'd be awesome.
No!
Yeah, they should. I think they could probably do a
scattered,
pretty good version
smothered,
of it.
covered, chunked in blood.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm in.
No.
I'll put some
Nope.
blood sausage on those hash browns. That'll be good. The Korean rice, the Korean blood sausage, according to Tesco, has rice and other animals and Asian spices. Other animals? I'm confused.
Wait, what?
Okay, Tesco, I might need clarification there. Rice, yeah, I've had. I think the first time I had it, which was at an Uruguayan asado, had rice prevalent in it. The time I had it in Mexico City most recently, it did not have rice as part of it. So I've had some that have had rice. I guess the South Americans will mix that in too. Tesco clarifies cows and chickens are involved in the Korean blood sausage as well.
Okay.
Whoa, there's a seafood one made with cow's blood. Wow, I'm learning something today. Thanks, Tesco. I'm intrigued. Kessie's awake about the Darren Eels tweet. Badgermon is on board with our assumptions here about what this could be. So we are waiting. MLS Buzz has figured out the riddle, I think, as all of us did. So
yeah.
we're waiting on the announcement here and what's gonna happen. Crazy day. Crazy things going on, and there's gonna be more because it sounds like if you're getting this announcement, Seattle signed another homegrown yesterday. Colorado Rapids added Colin Warner. You're getting at these moves to prepare for the tournament, so you're going to see more things happen. Now, the question on this one for Atlanta United is, I don't know where Jurgen Damm's fitness is. I don't know what his training has been like, if anything. Since this, I don't know how quickly he would be able to come in and join. There are some questions about quarantine procedures and what any of that looks like right now, and we really don't have answers. I've seen 14 days, I've seen 7 days, I've seen nothing as long as you test positive twice. I don't know, and it seems to change every day. These are the things that we'd love to get a little more clarification from government sources on these sorts of deals, and we don't really have it. So I don't know if he would factor in for this tournament or for the first part of this tournament or if it's for later. I don't know. But this is a move that was talked about before the pandemic broke out, and it appears to be continuing on. So be on the lookout for all of that. Also, and I'm retweeting this now, another move that has not been officially announced yet, I don't think, unless I missed it, but there's a picture of Leandro Gonzalez-Perez in an Inter Miami jersey, and he spoke to The Athletic. Felipe Cardenas just tweeted this out. LGP in the tweet that Felipe tweeted out. Honestly, when things started, I had my doubts about returning so quickly. The situation in Tijuana changed, and it's nothing on Leandro Gonzalez-Perez for coming back so quickly. It's nothing on Atlanta United for making the move when they did. The situation at Xolos changed dramatically during all of this. So that's where you're at. And if it's the right move for him and it's the right move for the club because they need another center back, especially one with a pedigree in this league, and it's the move for Xolos, well, then that's where you're at. So be on the lookout for all of these different things happening all at once. This could be a wacky final 30-plus minutes on this show.
Felipe also followed up his original tweet saying that LGP travels to Orlando and train with Miami, but he's not eligible to play in the tournament. Paul McDonough, quote, "The league has ruled on this. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is." End
Okay,
quote.
That's really strange. And there had been talk from the the usual suspects at The Athletic who cover a lot of these kinds of things, Paul Tenorio, Sam Stejskal, about a transfer window opening up and allowing players to be added for this tournament. I don't know why Leandro Gonzalez Perez's move would have anything to do with not being able to play. I don't know. From the article, the league's expected to announce additional details. There is a transfer window. Okay, so this is where we're at, and this makes no sense to me, and I hope we get some clarification shortly. Gonzalez Perez will travel and train with Inter Miami in Orlando, but he won't be able to compete in any matches due to MLS's new 2-day transfer window policy. The league is expected to announce additional details on Wednesday. McDonough said, "The only thing I don't like about the deal is I can't have him in Disney. Certain guys can play, certain guys can't. He comes into the TAM threshold, so the league will not let him play. If you're a non-TAM signing, then you can play. The league has ruled on this. I don't understand it. I don't agree with it. But it is what it is. I've told the league that, but that's just the way it goes." I'm completely confused. So there would have to be, I think, an expectation that if Jurgen Damm is coming to Atlanta United, he could be a TAM signing, and he might not be able to play in this tournament. Which, from what we know, Tigres hasn't been training. He was leaving the club anyway, so I don't know if he would have been part of anything that the club was organizing. Right. I don't know if he's trained in a team environment since March. I don't know if he'd be ready to play June 11th if he could play. Maybe he could play in the latter stages of the tournament if he joined them to train, but you wouldn't be counting on him straight away. You'd be counting on the group that you've had from the beginning of all of this. So, interesting. Be on the lookout for more clarification. Hopefully we get it shortly, and we'll give it to you on that, because that is really weird to differentiate between the different signings to make things happen here. So the other thing with Jurgen Damm, and we're getting questions on Twitch about this. So who is he? What is he like? He's incredibly fast. He's got unbelievable speed. At different points, it's been said that he's the fastest player in the world. He's had a lot of hype because of that speed, and people have felt like he hasn't lived up to that. There was talk about him going to Europe. He's not. He's coming here instead. He did run his contract down at Tigres, I think, to be able to choose where he went, which is a little bit different element. I think that should make you feel good that he chose to come to Atlanta in this situation. So this is... Oh, Joey Logan, you scared me a little bit. He said, "The real Darren Eales has tweeted." And yes, we got it. We got it. Yeah. We got it, Joey. You're a little behind. We got you. I was like, did he tweet again? What happened? There's something new. It's all happening so fast. I can't keep up. A lot of questions about everything with MLS at this point. So Adam from 816 on Twitch says, "Are trades allowed right now?" I would assume. I just want to see a player get traded while in the bubble, a.k.a. pick up his stuff and move to another floor with another hotel room. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it could happen. Whatever this 2-day window is going to be, sure, it could happen. Harmless Bunny on Twitch. I'm kind of okay with players just joining team, sitting the tourney out. Limited training resources in the bubble is not ideal to get guys up to speed quickly. I don't think they have really limited training resources. I think they're okay on this in terms of being able to incorporate guys. I think the biggest thing is just you're going to have a lot of games, so your training is going to be different than it would have been prior. So it's a little bit harder to incorporate guys on the fly. I think it's a lot harder right now because people are coming from a different level of fitness, having not played since March. There was a fake Darren Eales account that was tweeting yesterday. I think Tafka got on it. Some other people did too. It's okay. It happens. I think it was an Eric Lopez tweet, and it's done or something. Yeah, it's like no
cryptic tweet today. We got it.
Was one of those. It's like, Darren Eales better than that. He's gonna have a cryptic tweet of some kind. That's what he does.
Katie says that Darren's tweet is not the cryptic tweet announcement we expected, but kind of rude for Darren to interrupt the breakfast discussion. She's not on Team Blood Sausage, by the way.
Well, see, I want to clarify. I don't want blood sausage for breakfast. I want, and I'm intrigued by this Korean blood sausage, by the way. I want it for dinner. I don't want it for breakfast. That's a lot for breakfast.
You can have mine.
I don't like a heavy breakfast. No, you're going to try this one of these days.
Yeah, you're going to have to slip it past me, and I won't know that it happened. Trust me on that, too.
That'd be easy. I can handle that. That's simple.
Yeah, but no, just reading what it is about as appealing to me as haggis.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation. I'm not excited about that one at all.
Now my follow-up to the Jurgen Damm discussion.
Yes, because this conversation has gone completely off the rails and in a million different directions. What you got?
Could Atlanta United feasibly bring in both Damm and Eric Lopez?
That's not possible without other moves because of the way the roster is sitting. And I would assume that there could be other moves around all of this as well. So to recap, while we are waiting for an official announcement here on Jurgen Damm, 28 of 30 roster slots are filled. Roster composition, the open slots, one is a senior roster spot, one is a supplemental roster spot. Now, there are a lot of things out there about Tyler Wolff signing a homegrown deal. He would go into the supplemental spot. He's not a senior roster guy, so you can maybe put put that in pencil right now. The senior roster, you have one spot. Jurgen Damm would go there. He would be an international player. You have no international slots currently. You have two players that have international slots that are probably going to play a lot more for Atlanta United too this season, in Luis Fernando and Lawrence Wyke. So they could be loaned to Atlanta United too to clear two spots if you wanted to. So you've got the room there. It's the senior roster. You would have to make a corresponding move if everything is as it currently is in terms of rules in MLS. This is MLS, and we know that there's this under-22 initiative. We've heard rumors about an expanded roster going on with this thing. There's been talk maybe about expanding rosters anyway. I don't know, but as the roster rules are currently written, there would have to be another move to make room to sign Lopez and Jurgen Damm.
Just thought I would ask because I know that with the conversations we were having yesterday and the news that was coming out of Paraguay, anticipation being what it is, with Darren's cryptic tweet being what it is, trying to see if we can have both.
Yeah, well, you can have whatever you want, but you got to make moves to make these things happen to get to that point. Unless you're going to start to open doors up and make moves quicker, or you're going to make just off the top of my head, you're going to bring in, or you're going to sign Lopez but loan him back for the year and make it work to where he's not on your roster in the loan and he comes in next year when there's a different roster situation. Who knows? This is all even crazier than usual because of the global pandemic that we're all dealing with during this. So it's all going to be weird and sorted out. Sounding like today that we're going to get announcements about how these roster rules are going to look in MLS and what options teams are going to have. Question, as we're waiting on more news here from Tesco, does Damm play as a winger on the left or right or both? Does he have a preferred side? Seems like a true left winger would be a fit. Now, the way this team has played in 2020, they haven't really played with a left or right winger. It's been different. He's played on both sides. He's a guy who can play on either side. I think he's more right-sided. He's right-footed, so you would assume that he's going to be a little more comfortable on the right side. You could be an inverted winger on the left and cut inside. The question I would have is not necessarily about that unless you're going to play in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3 kind of shape where you do want wide players. Then what do you do with the rest of the group? If you want to do that, you could do it, especially if you add Jurgen Damm and he's on the right side, and if Barco's on the left, and Pitti is a false 9 and Mateus Rossetto is a 10. I mean, that's one way. Adam John can be the 9 and Pitti can be the 10. Rossetto could sit deeper. Rossetto could be on the bench. There's lots of things. This roster is really deep. That's what I keep coming back to. Whenever we start talking about lineups and what possibilities things could look like and what shape they could do here, you're too deep everywhere. You're too deep in any kind of way you want to play. And that's really impressive to have a roster that is this good. In the 3-4-3, my question would be, could Jurgen Damm play as an unorthodox number 9? You know, maybe not quite a false 9, but a guy who's just trying to run in behind and use his speed. Potentially. It'd be interesting to see. Could he play as one of the guys who is more central but flares out to the right when the time comes? You could. We've seen Tito Villalba, who is a speedy guy. We've seen him play in roles like that as a second forward. We've seen him play out wide, but we've seen him tuck inside. You could find some ways to make it work. Tito up top in 2017 was actually really effective. Now, the team was playing in a different shape than they are now, but could that be a possibility? Potentially. Everything's on the table. I think the old school ways of thinking about guys being rigid and playing in one system and one position, it's just not the way that Frank de Boer looks at the game. It's not the way a lot of managers look at the game these days.
I'm camped out on both email and on Twitter looking for a possible announcement. So that's why, for those watching on Twitch, my head's on a bit of a swivel here. So that's kind of what I'm staring at right now. Nothing yet. Efforting. Waiting. Hitting refresh. Make it happen.
The Soccer for Good OG asks you on Twitch, if you eat hot dogs, what could you possibly have against blood sausage?
I know what a hot dog is. Now I know what blood sausage is.
Do you?
In looking at a hot dog, I know my menu items with the hot dog. But now having read that's the thing. It's just
don't read about hot dogs then. Okay.
No. But what I'm saying is that having read about blood sausage, knowing the assumed risk that's attached to what is inside a hot dog and what's all processed and all that kind of stuff, it's like I can take that aside because I've been eating it for my lifetime. But in reading what blood sausage is, I'm like, nope. So, yeah, when I read something and it freaks me out, I'm not going to try it. And Tom Russo is absolutely correct that there might be 3 stops on my anti-Flavortown Express.
I don't know if you get 3 stops, my friend.
Well, what? Waffle House? Guthrie's?
No, we're not talking about, like, literal stops. I don't think Tom Russo is being literal here. You're not limited to 3 places to eat. He's talking about the general variety that Flavortown would encompass.
No.
You're not. Okay, you're freaking out. I don't even know if you know what Flavortown is. You're not going to go to all the different neighborhoods of Flavortown, is what Tom Russo's telling you.
No. All the
you
different
would
boroughs.
be sticking to just a couple different places in Flavortown that you would go hang out.
Yeah, no, I would be look in one borough of Flavortown, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's boring, John. It's boring. Very boring.
Who said that I was an exciting individual when it came to eating?
Let's see. Flavortown Crew SC, as Chris Ashley says.
Yes.
The questions come up about the Gone with the Wind reference to do this and to use the cryptic tweet. I did not even think of it. That feels like really trying to add a couple of different elements to get somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't think it was insensitive. That's what's so hard at times right now. Is I wouldn't have even thought of anything like that, and that doesn't make me right. It's just I don't know how many people are thinking of that right now. I don't know if that's. I don't know. I thought it made the point clear as to what it was, and that's it. And I don't know. Maybe it was the wrong thing to do. I didn't think it was. I didn't even think of it, to be honest. So maybe that makes me bad. I don't know.
Rich Ransom quoting you saying that the squad is too deep. He says, Philadelphia Union supporter size.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little different when you compare the depth chart with the Union to Atlanta United and the different options. It is. Having a deep depth chart doesn't guarantee anything, though, because you've got to find a way. If you're Atlanta United, you do have Ezequiel Barco, who's going to draw interest. But you've got a lot of guys who are going to expect to play. And you have 11 starters, and you have 5 subs, and you have 23 on the roster each game. But you're going to have to leave people out. We've went through the midfield so many different times. Between Remedi, Mo Adams, Emerson Heineman, Mateus Rossetto, Jeff Larinowitz, as central midfielders, that's you're not playing all of them.
Mm-hmm.
You're not playing all of them. Paul Tenorio chimes in, and he had said something. He had said something last week about roster rules, and he was shocked by. This is what he says about that whole TAM thing and LGP. He said, there isn't a super clear way to tweet about the league's reason why, but I'll try. Via sources, essentially, there was a decision not to sign TAM DP guys in this 2-day window. Some teams did, but they can't play because MLS wanted to avoid these signings in this window. I'm trying to make the connection here. I don't know why you needed to separate it that way. I do get why it's a short window, because you want your business to be lined up with the European windows.
Right. You
want your business to have opportunities to be involved in what's going on there. You want to have a window open later. Now, I don't know why you would restrict it this way, because there's nothing to do with registration or any reason why you couldn't, sign DP guys for these 2 days and then sign them later. I don't think, unless there's a restriction from FIFA that, only allows you to do it. But you're not even in this window. You're not limiting it to domestic moves. So no, it wouldn't factor in. So honestly, I don't know. The next tweet was, coming out of CBA negotiations and pay cuts for players, it sounds like there was concern about teams signing big money players in this initial window. The players will be eligible to play after the MLS's back tourney. Non-TAM guys who are signed will be eligible to play. I get that. I get the perception of it, but I don't think it should have affected MLS's business in this. I don't think it should have. Now, maybe that was part of the CBA negotiation, and Tenorio doesn't say that directly. He says that coming out of it, the league had worries about perception. I don't know if there was pressure from the Players Association to do that. I don't know. There shouldn't be, in my opinion, because if you're going to sign them, you're going to sign them. And if you're going to make moves to better your team, you're going to make moves to better your team. The pay cut, which is going to end up being 5% this year, is because revenues are down as a whole, which is accurate. But I guess the impression is that if revenues are down, you can't go sign these players, and et cetera, et cetera. Miami's in a different situation because they're new. I don't think it's hard to hold them to that. It's not like they didn't make big signings before and now they are. They're brand new. They're still filling out their team, and they would have been filling it out in the first window of the season anyway. That's a little awkward. LGP also has a green card. He was living in the United States. And Tenorio makes a good point, and this would come up with Dom, or this would come up with Eric Lopez. Internationals, because of the travel restrictions / quarantines and training and all of it, it's not likely they would come in and play anyway. LGP, I think, should have been given an exemption and been allowed to play in this because he was in the league previously. It's not like Miami went out and signed a guy for $20 million when they had other players take a 5% pay cut. He was in the league before. It worked out. It's good business. It's good for the league to bring him back into the league. He's already here, so you don't have the travel issues. He should have been allowed to play in this tournament.
Yeah, it makes too much sense logistically for him to have been included in this. But just going through Tenorio and reading all that stuff, the rules are what they are, and you understand why Paul McDonough said what he said to Felipe. Still monitoring Twitter and email, by the way.
Yeah, we'll keep up with it. Comments are all over the place. Tesco says if Dom had a pre-contract or if he was signed months ago, maybe he can play. Maybe. I don't know if they would have been able to keep all that if he had signed a pre-contract and he's been under contract or he was going. He can't become an Atlanta United player until a window opens. So I don't think there's a way around that one. Kismet says if he signed on a free, might be a different rule. I think his salary would make him TAM, possibly, but that's not a guarantee. If you're able to make that work and finesse it to where he's not a TAM player and you sign him, then yeah, he could play according to what we know so far of this rule. That's it. So I'm and okay, and Kessie has a point about the Gone with the Wind reference, and I think this is fair. He said, Darren's thought was generated by his attempt to link the surname with something that came to mind for him or someone else. It's fair to ask questions about why he went with it. Does he have a sounding board for the player? He's nothing to do with it. His merit should be celebrated independently. It's also par for Darren to talk about it if people ask. So everybody got the reference, and that was the point to it. I don't think it's anything about celebrating Gone with the Wind or characters from it. It was about a reference to cryptically link to a player's name. Yeah. That's not the same thing as saying we're having a viewing party of the movie. I feel like it's a little bit of a reach here. I didn't think of it. I didn't think of you should avoid that. I didn't think of that. I thought it was literally just to get you to the last name of Dom. That's all. Yeah,
right there with you.
But if that's okay, if that's where it is, that's where it is.
Let's see. We have a lot of games that are going to be played this afternoon. We have stuff from yesterday. What do you want to talk about while we're still waiting for some kind of announcement?
Well, we got a bunch of stuff on MLS as well while we're waiting. So let's stay in MLS for a minute. Paul Kennedy wrote about it. MLS announced it yesterday. The league's taking applications from clubs who are interested in joining this player development program that's going to replace the Development Academy. The goal of adding more clubs to the list of 94 that's currently there is to maintain a competition platform that provides geographic balance. The standards that they're evaluating applications on: player identification, player development philosophy, quality of coaches and technical staff, and development and performance environment. So it's very similar to the Development Academy. You've got to have some baseline standards to get into this, to be approved to be part of MLS's new Development Academy or whatever it's going to end up being called. They've had to create this on the fly. And when we talked to Tony Annan a little while ago, after U.S. Soccer made their announcement and after MLS made their announcement, it was all brand new. And it was being developed on the fly. And all of the reporting about U.S. Soccer's decisions in getting rid of the Development Academy, it all happened really quickly. There wasn't this preparation period with a league and structure and everything in place to be ready to jump on it. It's figuring it out also during a pandemic and trying to make it cost effective while also developing talent. That's why you have the situation that you do in Minnesota, because Minnesota has cut pretty much everybody from their academy. Minnesota's losing money, just like every other club right now. That's where they felt like they could cut. They've only signed one homegrown player. They have not been in a situation, and in a way they kind of alluded to it in their statement, they don't feel like they're going to develop talent. Maybe they don't feel like the talent base there is is producing enough players to be ready to become professionals? Don't know. I think they have to do something. I think they have to show something in developing young talent. They have to show some kind of commitment to developing the game in their area, because the academies become more than just the 4, 5, 6 teams that they have. If you look at what's happening here in Atlanta United's academy does coaching courses for local coaches. They try to improve the level of the game and development and tactics and technical development and all of it for every club. They try to offer opportunities for every club to gain. Because why? Because if every club is producing better talent, the best talent will be even better than it was before, and then come into Atlanta United's academy and potentially be signed to professional deals. Everybody wins with that. Minnesota, I get it. If you feel like you have to cut money right now, you got to cut it somewhere. And if they don't feel like they're getting a return on that, like Atlanta is, like other clubs are, that's where they're going to cut it. But they have to come up with something. They can't just have nothing to do with youth soccer. That would be a complete waste. Ricky Ricardo asked about the pre-contract question and talking about Brian Galvan. That was actually a pre-contract. That was signed. He signed with Colorado in the last 6 months, but before his contract was up with Cologne in Argentina. So he was already under contract. He would be coming in. Now, if he's a TAM player, the way that I'm reading it, it's not about him being registered. The pre-contract just ties you to a team. You're not actually part of that team until your international transfer certificate is transferred from, in this case, Argentina to the U.S. Soccer Federation, and Major League Soccer registers you. The way that Paul Tenorio is talking about this, they are not going to register players who are TAM players for this tournament. Now, could they say in this situation with Galvan, because he is expected to play in this tournament, that he was signed before the pay cut conversations, so they're going to allow an exemption? Could be. I think it's far more likely with Brian Galvan, a young player up and coming, that he's not a TAM player. I don't think his salary is going to be that high. I think he's probably a low six figures guy. So I think he'll be able to play because he's not TAM. That's the hard part, is we don't know who is TAM and who isn't. We don't know those things as easily. So that's going to make this a little complicated in the way that it's discussed. I don't see a scenario where a player coming from Cologne in Argentina, a young player who's not the proven article, he's not an LGP, he's not a Jurgen Damm, he's more along the lines of an Eric Lopez, but not with that transfer fee attached to it. He would be coming in as a non-TAM player. So I don't think the pre-contract situation affects Brian Galvan in Colorado. I think Jurgen Damm, could you be signing him for less than TAM in salary? Maybe. Now, the thing that helps you is that there is no transfer fee. He's on a free, so it's not going to bump that number up in terms of a cap hit to make him be a TAM cap hit. So, it's possible. It's far more likely, if he's joining the team now, that he's not going to be fit to play in this tournament, and he's not going to be ready to play in this tournament. That's the more likely scenario here than anything, is even if he could, he might not be able to, because he hasn't been training with Tigres, I don't believe, and I don't know what else he could have been doing other than individual workouts, and that can only get you so far. So, and then the travel from Mexico, and then whatever restrictions in terms of quarantine coming into the country, and then getting into the MLS protocol and the testing. So I don't think it's going to matter. You don't need him in this tournament right now. You've got players. You're okay. You want him for the future. You want him for this season and next season and maybe the season beyond. That's why you're signing him. You're not signing him to get him into Orlando for July 11th.
No. Once again, like you, clicking away on all the sources that I know. Still nothing official yet. So
Another thing on MLS, Stephen Goff, Washington Post, MLS teams are expected to add additional advertising to uniforms for this tournament. It's a move to help retain local sponsors who have lost some of their visibility during regular season home matches, potentially local broadcasts as well. League will allow a sponsor logo on the left sleeve. They're already allowed to have it on the right sleeve. They're also, in some cases, allowed a patch on the lower back of the player's shorts. DC United, for example, already has Lidos as their front of the shirt. Caesars Entertainment on the right sleeve. They're going to add Gainbridge, an insurance company, on the left sleeve, and Events DC on the shorts, according to what people are telling Stephen Goff. Both are current sponsors. At the Florida tournament, teams have been given the opportunity to add logos. If you don't have an ad on the sleeve, you can add it on each sleeve. If you have it on the sleeve, and Atlanta, DC, Kansas City, LAFC, Toronto were the teams that come in with the right sleeve sold, they can add logos to the other sleeve in the back. So you're able to add 2 sponsor things, but you can't add 3 if you didn't have one on the sleeve to begin with. There is one exception to that, and I don't know if it would come up. It would depend on the team. If a team is not comfortable with the combination of sleeve partners, and the example that Goff gives you is alcohol and healthcare, for example, one could go to the shorts. So in that case, it would be the right sleeve for one of those 5 teams, and then one on the shorts. That's what it could look like. If the regular season resumes, and that's the plan, the logos on the shorts would be removed. Teams that use the right sleeve in the tournament for a current local sponsor would have to remove it. They could sign a new sponsor because the right sleeve can be sold. The left sleeve can be used for the rest of the season. The league's going to remove the MLS logo from the left sleeve for the rest of the year. Compare it to the NWSL. They can have front of the shirt, upper back of the shirt, lower back of the shirt, and the sleeve. They don't have anything on the shorts. Washington Spirit, for example, CVS, Progressive, Wags, and Sandy Spring Bank are their 4 sponsors.
Let's see. We've got international stuff. We've got a lot of matches today starting at 1 o'clock in England in both the Championship and the Premier League, as folks are creeping up on Leeds, especially after their draw to Luton yesterday, or last time out 1-1. What else is on your mind as we're still staring at emails and Twitter?
Well, we got a bunch of people chiming in, so calm down. Pull up Twitter to make sure you're monitoring that as well.
I am.
Adam from 816, any small or medium market teams with owners positioned to make a jump in spending? Ooh, that's a good question. Let me examine this really quickly. You're going to have opportunities, I think. I think the Eric Lopez deal shows you that. You're going to have South American players that could be available earlier than you thought. So when you look at rosters and you're looking at total market value, and it's fluctuated a lot during all of this, so keep that in mind here, that it's going to continue to change as the market changes. I look into the middle and the lower half of the league at teams and owners that might be more willing to spend now. I think Chicago's one because you have new ownership. So Chicago could surprise us with some purchases that could be interesting. I think Montreal.
The Haslams in Columbus?
Go ahead. Sorry.
The Haslams in Columbus?
Potentially. Their roster's pretty well defined, though. I don't know where they would go. Their lineup is good. They've got depth. They're not looking for any starters. They're looking for depth in the central midfield. I mean, maybe a veteran South American to provide a little more depth there, but I don't think they really fit it because they don't need it. Montreal could. As we've seen, Joey Saputo's used his Bologna connections as well. In Italy, you've got some different elements you can make fit there with Montreal. Keep an eye on them. New England, Robert Kraft has spent more money here lately, and he could spend more if he wanted to, so keep an eye on him. Red Bulls is one that has not spent in their current iteration in the pressing style, in the development idea that they've went with. They've got the money to spend if they want to, if there's deals out there to be had, and they could use it looking towards Salzburg, looking towards Leipzig, and looking further down the road in those ways. So Red Bull would be the one that could really surprise us. Houston, I don't really know. Colorado, they've got the resources if they want to spend, and maybe they could use this in other ways. If Arsenal wants to get a guy in, well, you got some ownership connections there. Bring him into Colorado first as a stepping stone. You could do that. Minnesota, I would say no, because they're cutting. San Jose, Vancouver, Philadelphia, RSL, no, I don't see it. I don't know if the resources are there. Nashville could, and they could be one that really take advantage of this if they choose. Cincinnati, we're seeing already spending. They could spend more, especially when you're talking about a Fabian Johnson. I don't know if Dallas would, and the others are the ones you expect. I mean, LA, both the LA teams, Atlanta, Miami, Toronto, NYC, Seattle, they all spend. Portland has spent. I don't know if they'd really spend more right now. But yeah, Chicago, New England, Red Bulls, Colorado are the ones that maybe would be surprising in spending more and taking advantage of potentially spending more. Okay. Atlanta Phoenix. Would USL teams be able to join the MLS Development Academy? I don't know if that's what it's going to be called, by the way. I think they're probably going to try to avoid that name. I don't know if they would, because they're creating their own academy. They could, and I believe, I think there is one in there, and they're going to do both, which you might do, and maybe there's going to be more combinations or at least coordination between the two now that they've had some time to talk. There should be. They should talk more, and if you've got an organization that can field the teams to play in both competitions, cool, go for it. I don't think they would say no, because I'd have to go back and look at the list. I think they are. Chris Ashley says, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see Charlotte and Austin get bumped to 2022. I'm not getting that impression at all. And those are two, as Kismet says about Charlotte, if they're going to launch, yeah, they could spend right now too.
Yeah.
Austin could spend right now, and they could take advantage of this. I don't think there's any benefit to pushing back for them. They're not losing money right now. They're not, it's not hurting them to be into the situation, to come in next year. Like, they're doing what they would have been doing anyway. Charlotte has postponed their name announcement and stuff like that. They've pushed it back. They're waiting for the right time. That's not going to slow them down from a business perspective. You've got season ticket deposits that are out there for both teams. Both have done really well with it. I don't think there's a reason to push them back. Chris Ashley does have the point, but I don't know if in 2021 we're as worried right now about fans in the stands. I think that is the expectation for 21. I don't think you would shut down the business to start a year later because of a maybe. Because that's still a maybe right now. I think in this country, I mean, the conversation's gone the other way for what I've seen. You're starting to hear, and I believe it was Governor Whitmer in Michigan was the first one I saw with this, recommending that high schools bring individual sports into the fall and team sports into the spring.
Yep.
Because the expectation is things will be better with the virus by the spring. I don't think you can plan business-wise to not be able to run next year because of this. Is it something you have to have in the back of your mind? Yeah, you have to have a contingency, but I don't think you want to push them back yet. I think you want them to come in 21 because it gives you a big boost coming back into stands. It essentially gives you 4 new teams because Miami and Nashville have barely been normal this year. So I think it's a good thing. 21, I don't think there is as much fear about not having people in the stands. And I don't think the fear is large enough to say, okay, we're not going to start our business that we have timed everything out to start now. I think you're going to keep pushing forward with it. Maybe reduce capacity early if things do linger and continue, but I think you're going to be okay in 21. So I think you'd want those teams to launch. Go ahead.
Third week of July, according to the Charlotte Agenda, Daily Tepper Sports and Entertainment's planning on releasing team name, colors, and branding for the new MLS team up in Charlotte. They have 8,000 prepaid or paid season ticket deposits, which could convert into 20,000 season tickets.
Yeah, and that's I'd say that's still a loose date because you don't know what third week of July is going to look like right now, and maybe it won't be the right time to make that announcement. We'll have to wait and see. But that's what's on the board right now. Wait a minute. Ricky Ricardo just is making me lose it right now because of an article at 2Day NA. I'm going to hit this.
That is some weird, wild stuff. That is funny. I did not know that would be so funny.
Yes.
This is pretty
Yes,
funny. Headline at 2Day NA, translated to English: Maradona could be the next coach of Spain. The pre-candidate to, I guess, be the new president of the Spanish Federation, Antonio Torres, wants Maradona to be the one to take over the manager, to be the new manager of the Spanish national team. Antonio Torres says he is the ideal to command the team that was champion in the 2010 World Cup. Torres, this is what he says. This is translated. This is what he told an outlet in Spain. If I am the next president of the Spanish Federation, Diego Armando Maradona will be the next Spanish coach for the next 2 years. He will be the coach in the Qatar World Cup with the aim of reaching the final. The best player in history who passed through here in Barcelona will sign on my team. I have negotiated it with Matias Morla, Roberto Trotta, and all his team. They are very simple, humble people, and Maradona is highly trained as a coach. His knowledge is above all in soccer. According to rumors, there's a verbal agreement. If Torres becomes the president, Maradona would take over the Spanish national team, even in the Euro 2021, formerly Euro 2020. Spain, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're getting? Spain. Okay.
Chris Hutchison says the pain in Spain is about to begin again. I guess I read that right.
Craziness. Okay, a little bit more on the testing, according to Paul Tenorio and Sam Stejskal. Tenorio just tweeted it. This is following up on Third Degree's report. MLS has announced 6 positive COVID tests in Orlando. Sam Stejskal and I can confirm the below report, which is from Third Degree, that all 6 positives are FC Dallas players. And he says silver lining, no positives for any other team in the bubble. That's beyond a silver lining. That's why the bubble is there. That's why things are done the way they're done. FC Dallas did not train yesterday. They won't train today. Their first game set for July 9th. Third Degree, according to their sources, 3 more positive Dallas tests on Tuesday. 6 since arrival, 3 more previously before they arrived. So they announced 4 positives. So that would mean 2. I'm a little confused because MLS has announced 6 positive COVID tests in Orlando, according to Tenorio. Is that correct? That they've announced 6?
I thought that that release said 4 in 392
So
cases.
the way Tenorio's taken that release is that there were 2 and now there are 4 more, and the 2 are still positive. I don't know if that's the case because the way the release was worded, there were 4 positives, 4 players who have the virus, was the way the release was written. Wording can affect all of this, so that's going to be something we need some clarification on.
Right.
The release said 4. Now, Third Degree reported yesterday, according to their sources, that there were 3 positive tests on Tuesday, and they said 6 since arrival. I guess if you try to make the connections and you eliminate some of the wording and you change it, it could be 6. It absolutely could. That's not the way it was written yesterday. So we need more clarification there. But according to Tenorio Stejkal and Third Degree, who covers the FC Dallas situation, all the tests that are positive are Dallas players.
Yeah.
So this is why you identify. This is why you isolate. There's a couple little things here about why have people tested negative and now positive, and how has that breakdown happened. That needs to be identified because you don't want it to spread through the team. That's the whole point of all this. That's the whole point of the testing. The thing that it hasn't spread to other teams is why you're doing things the way you're doing. That shows that the bubble can work. But you do have questions about why you're having these issues with one team in Dallas.
Right.
So we need more information there, but that's where things stand right now. Waiting on announcements.
Yeah.
Waiting on updates.
Yeah.
Things keep happening. Man, this is hectic and crazy and confusing. Okay, we're gonna go a little bit long to wait on this because you never see the cryptic tweet and then nothing.
Then nothing. Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna wait it out. We have faith in this happening.
Yes.
We have faith.
All right.
We have an understanding that maybe this is gonna be something we good because of what we've seen.
Yes. So keep going. Talk about something for about a minute and a half. I'll be right back.
That's good radio, John. Good job.
Ain't it though?
Yeah,
Ain't it?
That's something.
Back in a sec.
Yeah.
What a plonker.
All right. The World Cup 2026 venue process, the bidding process, that is going to kick off on Tuesday. It's like a virtual bid workshop, basically, because this is how these things go. When the cities that are still left, you have this workshop, or you go out and tour and you talk to the cities and you say, well, this part's really good about your bid, this part needs some work, you need to upgrade this, and they haven't been able to do that. They were able to do that with the Canadian cities and the Mexican cities. They were not able to do that with the U.S. cities before the pandemic broke out. So they're going to do it virtually. You're going to get down to probably 10 U.S. cities. It could be more. In Canada, they've talked about the potential for not having 3 cities, but maybe even only having 1. We'll have to see what Canada ends up looking like with that. If there's fewer Canadian cities, if there's fewer Mexican cities, there'd be more American cities. You're not going to get all 17. You're probably going to get around 10. It's a little hard to figure out because there's going to be more games, more countries, more things going on in this than we've ever seen. So I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like for the number of cities, but they'll start the process of fine-tuning their bids with this workshop on Tuesday, and that'll kind of restart the official process of everything. Questions on Twitch, and if you guys have them, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. You want to tweet at us at soccerdownhere as well. We're taking questions as we're waiting on an announcement. Maybe it'll happen this morning. We're gonna buy a little more time here. So, Chris Ashley, and this is one that I need to get a little more information on as well. The Charlotte stuff on the MLS side. Now, Chris says it's the 3rd or 4th date for Charlotte on the Promise branding. I do think the pandemic has affected all that. I don't think there's a problem there. I think they're just really trying to wait and not announce it when there's everything else going on. There's also social unrest. There's also protests. There's also all kinds of things happening, and maybe they feel like it's not the right time to do it. I don't know. Chris said that the COVID stuff has really thrown off most of their timeline, and that's why he's worried they won't be able to even start next season. I think they'd like to. I think they're going to try to. I don't think the fan issues, I don't think the COVID stuff directly would affect that. It'd be the timeline of launching that would affect it. But I think they're still okay to do that right now. We'll see. It's a good point. It's a good information there from Chris. Turner Kirby, this is totally going to be taken level-headed by everyone in the MLS community. Absolutely, I'm sure that Twitter is on fire right now with all of it. I'm trying not to lose my mind. Kismet says, yes, 2 on arrival, 4 on the next day. Okay. That's what's being reported. The way MLS wrote the release left it ambiguous, and if it's that way, which the reporting is that it's that way from outside MLS, give us a little more clarity in the way you're writing the release. I would like what we've seen the Football League and the Premier League do in their announcement. They tell you how many tests they've done since they made an announcement. I'd like that. Give us the number of tests. Don't put it down to people, because it gets a little awkward in this situation, because as the original question was from Nico Cantor, does that mean there's 4 new and there were already 2, which is what it sounds like? Does that mean that the 2 that tested positive before are still sick? Have they recovered? Do we know anything? Have they tested negative since? Give us that clarity. That'll help understand it, and that will, I think, remove the outrage. That'll remove it. We have not heard anything about symptoms. We have not heard anything about people having severe medical issues. Everything has been described as asymptomatic up to this point. How has this happened in Dallas, where there are more testing positive there than anywhere else, and now we've had tests positive before they came, 2 when they arrived, and potentially now 4 new ones? What has broken down in protocols there? Because it hasn't broken down with other teams.
Yep.
Where there's been positive tests, it hasn't had a spread. This is getting close to a spread, and this is something that if all 6 are still sick right now, what's going on? What's the cause of this? Can we figure out why? Because the why is really important in this. Turner Kirby asked about Mike and I calling the games. We don't know exactly what that looks like yet. He asked if we'd be calling the game separately or socially distanced in a studio. It's better if you do the latter, I think. It's better if you're in the same room but distanced. A lot of booths that we've seen so far, and whether you're talking about the Bundesliga, where they've talked about being in separate booths, the booth's not big enough to socially distance. You couldn't. For people calling the games from remote location for NWSL, for example, the booth's not big enough to socially distance. I've been in the booth. There's not enough room. In England, and we've seen pictures and video of Arlo White with Graham Lasso or Lee Dixon at sites, they've been able to socially distance in a space because they're generally outside. It's not a booth. For us, all that's still being sorted out, like how we're going to do it and where we're going to do it. But ideally, we would be in the same room socially distanced. That just makes it easier to do what we do. If we have to be in separate booths, we'll be in separate booths. If we were doing games right now from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in our normal radio scenario, we would have to be in separate booths.
Yeah.
Or we'd have to be on separate levels because the booth has separate levels. And we could do that, but then we'd have to figure out our engineer, Miller Pope, who would be with us, and where he would be and how that would look. You could do it in that booth. I think we'd probably do it in separate booths.
Yeah.
Because you have windows, you could still see one another, you'd have the same line of sight. It's a little harder if you're up on the second level to see the same way that what's going on the lower level. So that's if we were calling a game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. To do this, calling it remotely, it's going to depend on the setup. So we don't exactly know yet.
Yeah, and in the Premier League, if you've watched with Arlo and Lee and Graham, they're actually not even in the press box. They've gone down to lower levels, and they've had that space where, since there's no one in the stands,
but they
can
don't
actually
typically
distance.
call games from a press box. That, I think, needs to be understood. In England, you don't normally call games from a press box. You're calling games from out, like we did at the Estadio Azteca.
Yeah.
You're calling games from the stands. It's separate. It's separated. Red Bulls at Red Bull Arena, their press box is like that. It's not really a press box. Now, we're in a different area, and we are in a booth at Red Bull Arena. But in England, typically, you're not in a separate booth.
Yeah, it's an open air section where press is designated to be, whether it's a gantry or a set away section. But with NBC, if I'm looking at them correctly, they're actually pulled from that normal gantry, and they're actually a little further closer to the field itself, where they can actually have that socially distanced space.
I've seen both. I mean, I've seen spots where it looks like their normal location. I wouldn't want to be closer to the field. I'd want to be higher up, to be honest. I'd want to be able to see more. That's where my head's at with that sort of stuff. More questions on Twitch. If it turns into an AMA, it's an AMA. That's all good with me. Chris Ashley says the news is gonna drop the second you stop the broadcast. Probably.
Of course,
we're trying to wait it out.
Yes,
we're trying. Kismet asks, is the box lunch provider a publicly traded company? I have no idea. I don't know who it is. Sure, somebody will probably find it. I don't think there's any kind of... I don't know where Kismet's question is coming from. There's no allegation that anything to do with the bubble is causing Dallas's situation. It sounds like it was their problem before they got there. And their testing in Dallas now needs to come into question. If people tested negative and got on the plane and flew down, what happened? Where was the breakdown there? So that's more of the issue. In terms of just the money, go book a convention in a hotel. That's about what you're paying. Like that's about what you're paying. Those prices, that's what a company running a convention would be paying. That's what they would be paying. Like your average person, because you don't buy a box lunch that way. That whole thing was just weird. The whole thing was strange. Turner Kirby thought the sandwich looked pretty good. I've had much worse in terms of box lunches. I've had far worse box lunches than that. I've had far worse than what that menu looked like in those scenarios for sure. Kismet said, Turner said, he's thinking about tying a scarf to my backpack for day camp on the day of the first game. Should he go MLS Cup champ scarf or Open Cup champ scarf? I'd go MLS Cup because it's an MLS competition on the first day. Mm-hmm. If it was a U.S. soccer competition, go with the USOC one, but I'd go MLS. Or just an Atlanta United scarf, either way.
Yeah. Katie Weaver with a couple of broadcasting suggestions.
Okay. She
says that you should do games from the patio at Brick Store or do games from the Brew House patio. What could go wrong?
The Brew House one, I feel like we could... No, we couldn't because we've done shows there, and when ambulances go by, it's really loud. The Brick Store one, there's no way we could do anything about sound blocking. We got to have a lot of stuff to do this. We got to have monitors. We got to have feeds because we're going to be doing, and we're working through everything now because it is all really complicated, but we're going to be doing some additional things with the team. That'll go on their social media channels that will add to our broadcasts on 92.9. There's a lot of work and a lot of thought being put into the things we're going to do. So we're going to need a lot of juice and a lot of equipment to get these things done. So I don't think we could pull that one off. Sorry. That'd be fun, though.
While I was on a brief hiatus, did you discuss the Soccer America piece about the World Cup venue process for 2026?
Yep.
Okay. Got it. And the Ricky Ricardo question that went with it?
Yep. No, didn't get the Ricky Ricardo one. What was that?
Does each city have to declare their intent to host like DC did, or is that just for lip service?
I think that's just for lip service. That's just a PR exercise because they've already declared their intent by bidding. So that's just it's for PR, which I get it. That's part of it. More on Twitch. You guys are not done on Twitch. Kismet says, what's your pregame ritual like when calling a game? Do you practice it on off days? I practice it. I don't... My role's different. I mean, play-by-play... I'd probably practice more play-by-play than I practice color watching a game in terms of watching a game and saying what I would say on color, like if I'm working with Mike or John calling Atlanta United 2 games. But when I do play-by-play for Oglethorpe, for example, in college, when I'm watching a game, I will narrate a game to practice play-by-play. It's something I need to practice more on, and I'll narrate it that way. I watch a game and think in a color commentator role anyway. That's just how I think about the game. So the things I notice are the things I say on a radio broadcast or on a ESPN Plus broadcast are the same things watching a game for fun that I notice about tactics or the way a team's playing or they're focusing on the right side, et cetera, et cetera. So that's no different. Just watching games is practice for me in that.
Yeah.
Turner Kirby says, do you have something, John? Sorry.
Well, no, I've just that's why I watch as many games as I do. I'll sit there and I'll run the game in my head. I won't do it out loud because people here in Office HD might think I'm crazy. But no, I'll be watching a game on the big screen down here in the office, and I'll just run through play-by-play in my head as the game's going there in front of me. So yeah, I do the same thing.
On Twitch, Turner says, what's the toughest press box to get good sight lines from? I know the MBS press box is in the corner, not on the sidelines. Did that take a little to get used to?
Audi?
Audi's the worst by far. There's just no way around it. Audi stinks because you're low and in the corner, and you've got multiple windows you're looking through, and you're sealed off because of plexiglass. It's really awkward. MBS is different. I'm used to it now. It feels completely normal to call a game from there. I could walk in today and it'd be fine. Did it take some getting used to? I'm trying to think back. I mean, when I first started calling games at Bobby Dodd, we had a great spot. Going to MBS took me a second to get kind of my bearings on it, but the monitor helps you with it, and it didn't feel weird for long. I don't remember it feeling weird for long anyway. Like, I think I caught it pretty fast. The biggest thing I had to catch and get used to was when the ball goes into the far, from your TV angle, the far left upper corner. That's the furthest away from where I am. So that's where I'll look at the monitor for help to get a little more detail and watch from the monitor when the ball's in that area of the field to make sure I've got detail, to make sure, I see who made the pass before the assist, stuff like that. But yeah, now it feels normal, and it helped when we did games at Coolray because it's somewhat of a similar sight line. It helped the first time we went to Yankee Stadium to call a game. You're further away, but it's a similar type of angle. So using the monitor is what I learned, and that's helped me in other places. Yankee Stadium's tough just because you're far away.
Yeah,
it's you're not going to get a great view because you're so far away from everything. You have to adjust. More on Twitch. Cassie says being closer to the field to call a game right now might actually be heard on the field. Double edge if a player can hear you. Yeah. When we call games for Oglethorpe, when Jess and I call those, we are right next to the field. We're at the fourth official table, basically. Yep. So coaches and players on the bench and players subbing in have absolutely heard me. Players subbing out have heard me, and they've given a thumbs up when I was praising them for something they did before they got subbed out. So it happens. It's really tough because you're standing on the field essentially to call the game. So you have to figure out how to cover yourself if you can't identify players, and you don't have monitors, so it's difficult. And that's just the differences. That's just the differences, and depending on where you are in calling games. We've got more on Twitch. We might have more right here. Yes, we do. We have the announcement. Where's my sounder? Jurgen Damm is officially a member of Atlanta United. From the release, Carlos Bocanegra. It's exciting to add a player with Jurgen's pedigree and winning mentality, and we're looking forward to welcoming him to the club. He's excelled in Liga MX as well as on the international level with the Mexican national team, and we believe he can make an immediate impact in MLS. Jurgen is versatile to play on either wing, and with his pace and ability to beat defenders 1v1 to deliver a cross, he gives us another valuable weapon in our attack. Now, here is the breakdown of the particulars of how this went down. In a preceding move, Atlanta acquired Jurgen Damm's discovery rights from Houston, so they had him on their discovery list, had to give up $50,000 in GAM to do that. That's typical amount. Damm will join Atlanta United, occupy an international roster spot, of course, and this is in every release, pending the receipt of his international transfer certificate and P1 visa. He will join the team in August after it returns from MLS's back tournament in Orlando. So you don't have to worry about the international slots right now. He's not going to be part of the team. He's not going to be part of the roster yet. So you're not worried about that. 27 years old for people getting to know Jurgen Damm. He started with Estudiantes Tecos in Mexico. Made his debut there in 2012. Moved to Pachuca summer of 2013. Moved to Tigres after 2 seasons at Pachuca. He's won 4 Mexican titles in Tigres, adding the Clausura in 2019 most recently. 172 appearances for Tigres, all competitions, 13 goals, 23 assists, 22 CONCACAF Champions League matches, 4 Copa Libertadores appearances when Tigres played in that in 2015. He is a free agent. There was no transfer fee. He was available on a free. He played his contract out at Tigres. 12 total appearances for Mexico, 1 goal in a World Cup qualifier against Honduras in 2015. Speed. That's what he is known for. He is fast. Atlanta United likes guys who are fast. Not a surprise.
Yay!
That's all you got?
Well, no.
We wait an extra half hour and I just get a yay.
Well, no, it's what? It was an hour after Darren tweeted that we got the release?
I guess.
Okay. No, speed. I like this. And the fact that it's been clarified that he'll join the team in August. Now, I guess everyone is sitting there. Now they're going to go back to looking at Eric Lopez, and we'll see what the latest is with that, too. But no. Cool that, look, I like this. I think it's cool. I think it's great. I can't wait to see him on the pitch at MBS and see just how fast he translates to that pitch.
Okay. You got questions, tweet at us. We'll answer all the questions that are on the table before we go. Whatever you want to talk about, Jurgen Damm, Atlanta United, MLS, NWSL, wherever, we'll finish out with all the questions we have on the board. Adam from 816, hyped for Debinha watch tonight.
Oh, yeah.
10 o'clock, North Carolina and Washington. North Carolina, you're watching Debinha. You're watching Crystal Dunn. You're watching Kristen Hamilton, Lynn Williams, who had the game-winning goal on Saturday. You're looking at one of the top teams in women's soccer worldwide. And in Washington, you're looking at Rose Lavelle, and you're looking at a team that is up and coming and a team that was really good in their opener against the finalists from last year in Chicago. Washington won 2-1. So that's going to be a fun one at 10 o'clock. 12:30, get started with NWSL. Portland and Chicago. Chicago, we've had comments about saying they're glad they're not playing in front of Portland fans. Duh. But Portland fans, I guess, have taken exception. And Portland's manager is putting this quote up in the board. I guess you want to get people going. Cool. Okay. So that game could have a little bit of extra spiciness to it. That's 12:30. Both are CBS All Access. You can get that on whatever your streaming platform of choice is that you want to watch this through. I watch it through Amazon Fire TV. You can watch it online. You can watch it on a laptop. Search for CBS All Access. Very easy. NWSL has a bunch of links too. It's $5.99 a month. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. And there might be a 30-day trial out there if you can find it. So watch NWSL today. Both games should be a lot of fun. They should be better than the game last night, which was a little slow. It never got going.
And if you're looking at Jurgen Damm's Twitter feed, at Jurgen Damm R25, he's doing a pseudo TikTok video where he's swapping out all of the different jerseys that he's worn. And the last one, before he gets into dancing, he reveals the Atlanta United kit. So he's dancing in the 5 stripes.
You get excited about the goofiest things.
Dancing in the 5 stripes.
Don't dance. Turner Kirby.
Those sitting down is not possible.
Yeah, don't do it. Turner chimes in on the college side because there's a lot of conversations about college sports.
Yep.
Ivy League making their final decision on fall sports for July 8th. They were one of the first to stop when all this happened in March. Turner said he'll be watching closely. Athletic events happening will have some impact on whether or not he can take classes in the fall because he'd like to have a job. all of us are in these kind of situations. If you work in the game, you're watching what is happening because it's all related. If you work in anything to do with sports, you're looking at all this because it's all related. The Ivy League, there's been some speculation that they might not have fall sports in the fall. They might have them in the spring. They might play a football season in the spring. It might only be a conference schedule. That's been floated out there. Some other smaller conferences as well. Not ruling anything out. Not ruling anything out about how to handle this because there is no precedent here. Everybody's trying to figure this out on the fly. We don't know. The differences, and you have to understand the differences when we talk about this stuff. MLS and the NBA are doing a bubble scenario. They are not doing what Major League Baseball or college football or the NFL are talking about doing that would include travel and people staying at home. The bubble scenario should make it safer. And in MLS's case, you do need to figure out what's going on with Dallas. Why did players test positive immediately after coming? You had testing before they came. What happened here? What's the issue? It has been contained to Dallas right now. So that's where you're at. But why is it happening to begin with? They're set to play next Thursday. You have to figure this out quickly to know what's going on. Players are asymptomatic, but players have to test negative multiple times before they're cleared. The team is not training currently to try to, I guess, sort this out. I guess make sure everybody is tested. I'm sure they are doing daily testing with Dallas right now to get to the bottom of it. And they have to. But the questions like the Ivy League is dealing with, the questions about high school football, the questions about high school sports, youth club sports, all of that are different than the questions MLS has.
Yep.
It's not a one-size-fits-all conversation. Badgermon's watching tonight for Rose Lavelle, fellow Wisconsin Badger, obviously. Rose is playing as well as anybody in the world right now. And she's just electric, so I definitely recommend watching that one tonight. I want to see her go up against this midfield for North Carolina and see how she rises to the occasion because there's going to be pressure on her to perform. She's going to have to carry her team. She did in game one. Can she do it against the best team in the league? We'll find out tonight. Turner has a good point. You know, looking at all these issues, the athletic departments, the logistics, the financials, if you're going to do a fall sport in the spring, if you're not going to do a fall sport, there's a lot of things to figure out in that scenario. There's a lot of things to figure out if you're going to do it this year in terms of testing and how to travel effectively. And it's a lot of things for a lot of people to figure out in a lot of different ways right now. I want to see people figure it out, hopefully.
Yes.
Go ahead.
On Twitter, Joe Johnstone says, I guess Barco's gone then?
No. Why? Why do you say that?
Joe?
Why? Well, do you have a reason why he would say that? Do you have speculation on why he would say that?
I'm looking at depth of the roster, and whenever it is, year or two or whenever, where Barco would like to go into the European theater, and you see someone like a Fiorentina come in and sit there and say, we would like Ezequiel Barco, then you have Jurgen Damm as on your roster to help out in that regard. So there's no immediate reaction instead of being reactive instead of proactive is what I was trying to get into.
I don't think it has anything to do with Ezequiel Barco. I think the Eric Lopez signing would have more to do with Ezequiel Barco in terms of a young player that you're going to bring through. I don't even think they're that similar, to be honest, because I've always felt like Barco is going to be best centrally, and Dom has been best wide. So can they play the same position? Yeah, they can both play out on the left. They can both play out on the right. They're very different kinds of players. I don't think this means Barco's gone. It's Dom's not coming in as a designated player. There's no mention in the release about him being a TAM player. There's no issue. Well, you could add him to the roster now if you wanted to, with the exception of the international slot. So I think Lopez is more of a, okay, Barco's going to go at some point, but that doesn't mean he's going to go now.
Yeah.
If the deal is right to go, he'll go. That's the way this is going to go down. This is a year unlike any other. I thought coming into 2020, Ezequiel Barco would be with Atlanta United through the MLS season, barring a offer in the summer that you could not turn down.
Right.
Well, now everything has changed. If an offer comes that you can't turn down in whatever window is open for whatever league is going to do this, and there's links to Fiorentina, according to Barco himself, saying that Fiorentina had reached out to his agent. There's links from other reporting about Lyon reaching out to his agent. Barco said his agent mentioned Ligue 1 in general as teams that were interested. If those numbers come in and you can't say no, well, yeah, you had the depth before, you have more depth. I don't think you went and got Dom because of that. I think the Jurgen Damm signing is because he's on a free and it's a good deal. And he's 27. He's a player who can make you better, and he fits the profile of an Atlanta United player. Speed. Speed, speed, speed. That's always what Atlanta United has wanted. You get a chance to get one of the fastest players in the world. You're going to take it. I think Lopez, in terms of long-term development and a player who can grow into something and then eventually be sold, is more along the lines of the Barco track. Dom's different to me.
John Nason with an idea. He says, what about a new League Cup each year in the format of MLS is back, but spread through the season?
It's not the same if you do it spread out. I'm curious, and the NWSL has kind of talked about this as well. Would they do something like the Challenge Cup on a regular basis? For them, it's easier. It's a smaller league. You can have everybody go to one place and do it like the way they're doing it and have a really cool format of it. For MLS, it's a little bit harder. I mean, they're showing you can, but you would have to have the space to do this in one place or do it in multiple hubs and then come together for a final. It's doable, but I wouldn't do it spread throughout the season because you have the Open Cup, you want the Leagues Cup with Mexico to become a bigger thing. There's more money there to do it that way. I don't think you can do it in MLS. I think you'd be doing Leagues Cup spread throughout the season to replace it. Could you do some kind of a summer tournament or do a summer break and have a little tournament with teams or have some qualification to get into that? Maybe. It'd be a secondary event. It'd be a minor trophy. It'd still be a trophy, but it'd be more minor. I don't think you can do this in the crowded MLS calendar. One other reason why is talk out of CONCACAF, and this has been reported in French and Spanish so far. The president of CONCACAF is talking about eventually, and we don't know when, the CONCACAF Champions League is going to be bigger. There's going to be more games. There's going to be more teams. That's going to take up more time in your calendar too. So MLS is going to have that. They're going to have the Open Cup. They're going to have the Leagues Cup with Mexico and a regular season. There's only so much you can do.
Would you do an eventual Leagues Cup on the women's side with NWSL and Liga MX Femenil?
You'd have to ask NWSL and Liga MX Femenil. It's two separate businesses. So I don't know. You could, but that'd be NWSL to decide. So I think they easily could. I would rather first see a CONCACAF Champions League for the women.
Yes.
That's what needs to happen first. That's the priority.
Also, news out of the NWSL Louisville. PNC Bank is the official bank of the team, and they're going to appear on both home and away kits. So news for NWSL Louisville, their very first partner. Finding money.
I mean, that's where you're at. You got to try to find money right now in whatever way you can do it. It's everybody's figuring this out. That's where we started this morning. Wigan going into administration, they don't have money to operate right now. They got to figure out how to have the money to finish the season because that was mentioned. They should be able to do that. They're trying to stay up. They're going to be 12 points down next season if they stay up. If they don't stay up or if they get relegated, then if they are to get relegated based off their results, which is unlikely because they should be okay based off on the field, they would get relegated based off the point deduction. But let's say they fall apart on the field and they get relegated, then they'd have that point deduction for next year. So Wigan, brutal situation. The speculation back in May out of England was that 50 or 60 clubs could be at risk. This is club number 1 in this way. Schalke, big reorganization. They're saying they can't even look at getting into Europe right now. They've got to try to trim costs and make things cost effective and go forward. Money is a big part of the conversation about every aspect of professional sports right now. To ignore it is not telling the whole story. To say that it's greed why leagues want to play right now, it's not correct. It's trying to find a way to be a business and pay people and bring in money and grow, because you eventually expect that things will be back to whatever normal is. Whether it's the old normal, which is unlikely, a modified version of that, a new normal, whatever. You hope that, who knows, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, more, you have matches with people in the stands, buying tickets, buying jerseys, buying hot dogs, not buying blood sausage because John would get upset.
Well, buy whatever, eat whatever you want. I just won't buy it.
Buying whatever you can buy at the stadium, and teams operating as normal businesses. And right now, teams are having to get really creative about all aspects of it. And you're seeing some find money in this scenario. NWSL's done an amazing job of that. MLS is finding ways to satisfy current sponsors, to not lose more money. They're also finding a way to get back on the field. It's not easy, as we're seeing with the Dallas situation. You've got to be vigilant when you're coming to testing, when you're coming to protocols, when you're coming to all of the elements of it. You cannot slack off on any of it. And it gets exhausting and it gets tiring. And you don't want to put the mask on, and you don't want to have to worry about it. And you want to go have dinner somewhere, and you want to do what you used to do, and you can't right now. It's just that simple. You can't forget what we're dealing with. And if we can all get through this, and some businesses won't. They won't. That's just the sad reality. If we can all get through this, you start to look at what it can be afterwards. But you've got to do the things now to get through, and also to prepare yourself for what can come. MLS is in that boat. That's why you're seeing a player like Jürgen Damm come here. He was already looking to come here before. That's why you're seeing, talk about an Eric Lopez coming here, and Tata Martino saying that MLS is a good place for a young player to develop and use it as a stepping stone to go to Europe. That's why you're seeing MLS teams look ahead and make signings to look ahead, and invest in youth development, and invest in whatever this academy system looks like, and all of it. Because you're trying not just to survive, but to grow afterwards. All of it's hard and all of it's complicated, but that's the big picture. And you can't leave that out of the conversation about testing and about protocols and about playing and about all these things that are going on right now. It's not easy. It's very hard. It's not fail-safe. There's no guarantees that anything happens the way we expect it to happen right now. We have to be ready to modify everything on the fly. That's the world we live in right now. And we have to understand that and just deal with it the best we can. Stay safe and stay smart and not freak out about sandwiches. How about that?
Yes.
Or blood sausage.
No, yeah. Well, I'm just not going to eat it. I'm not going to freak out about it.
You're going to eat it. I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah, you'll probably sneak it under the radar in something and sit there and go, hey, here, eat this. And then you'll sit there and go, yeah, I'm hungry. I'll eat this. And then it'll be finished. You'll sit there and go, you ate blood sausage, and then I will curse you.
No, because you might like it.
No.
No. Oh, no. You're not going to get away with that. You sound like an 8-year-old. No.
And this surprises you.
Well, no, you're not going to get away with that. You need to try things, and if you don't like it, you don't like it. But you cannot have that mentality, because you sound like an MLS hater when you do that. I'm not going to like it. Well, you watched it, and you didn't know who the teams were, and you liked the game. You had that sandwich, and you liked it, and you didn't know what it was.
So you're comparing soccer and sandwiches.
I'm comparing you to an 8-year-old and an MLS hater because you just said that I said, I'm going to have you try this. You might not know what you're eating, and you might like it. And you said, no, I won't. You can't be that way.
I read what blood sausage is.
That's not what I said, John. Pay attention. I'm going to draw this out for you. If you get to go to an asado one day and you get to try all the different meats at the asado and you get to try sausage, you don't know what sausage it is. I'd hope you wouldn't be rude and be like,
hey, what's in this?
What is this? I need to know exactly what this is before I eat it. If somebody gives you morcilla and you see it's sausage, you need to try it out of being proper to your host, right?
Yeah.
And if you like it, then you can drop this whole pretense. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But to say what you just did is what haters do and what little kids do. You might like it. If you don't want to try it, that's fine. You're not going to choose to eat it. You don't want to be adventurous. I get that. Flavortown has less than 3 stops. I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you do get to try it, and if you do have it, and you do like it, maybe you would actually grow. To say that I would not like it, or if I liked it, then I found out what it was. No, you sound like the typical MLS hater. Or whatever hater, women's soccer hater, or insert hater here, who's like, no, I would not like it. No, I would not. So, Mikey likes it.
So when I went, and we all went to Las Delicias, a mi abuela, and I enjoyed that food because... So I branched out. I've been known to do this. I have. You seem to forget.
Branch out that far. That's not branching out that far.
No.
Eating the basic, typical Colombian dinner is not that far of a branch out. It is not blood sausage level branch.
If I didn't know you. If you and I were...
no, you would have never had it. You would have never went to Las Brasas either.
Exactly. And
so I'm telling you that something's good. You should trust me. Because I've been 2 for 2 on those. You would have never had South American food without those 2.
No, and Chaufa Pollo has become part of the regular rotation here at Office HD for both.
So, you're going to eat blood sausage and you're going to like it. All right. Thanks, Adam, for hanging out with us on Twitch. New listener from Kansas City.
Oh, nice.
And a sporting Kansas City fan. Wish we had a daily live show like this. We're crazy. We're strange. And I don't know. It's been a weird day, too. I did not expect blood sausage to be a theme of the show.
Jürgen Damm dancing in a Five Stripes jersey through a manufactured TikTok video. And blood sausage.
Yes, it's been one of those days, and TAM rules and sandwiches and who knows what else, and we'll see what else happens. I'll be on the midday show at 1:20 with Andy and Randy on 92.9 The Game. If you missed stoppage time, it's on the Facebook page. We did it yesterday, facebook.com/929 The Game. NWSL action kicks off in about 35 minutes on CBS All Access, Chicago and Portland. The late game, 10 o'clock. I know I'll be watching it. I know I'll be on Twitter talking about it. Washington and North Carolina. What are you giggling about?
Katie Weaver gets bonus credit. She says, y'all just going to keep talking and do an NWSL watch-along?
No, we're not.
We're going to watch it. We're just not going to do a watch-along.
I'm going to stop talking for a while because it's been a long day. Who knows? It's all getting crazy. Who knows what happens the rest of the day? But for now, we're signing off.
Yes.
Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.